Good evening, all. Good evening. Welcome to this week's Midweek Geek, a somewhat hastily, somewhat hastily thought of one because I haven't slept well for the last couple of nights, and my stomach's been going bleh, 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 a lot lately, and fairly long day at work today. Big dinner when I got home. And I just felt very content and very warm, and I was all ready to just go. And then I realized it was 8:30. I put a post on Discord a little bit before that, but I sort of was in a vegetative state till 8:30. And thought, no, I haven't made the stream or anything. So stupid me. But hey ho, we're here, and I am joined by Halakar. Hello, Halakar.
Hello.
You're becoming a regular face on these streams now, aren't you?
Yeah. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's true.
I'm glad to have you here. You can berate me verbally rather than in chat.
Okay.
Yeah, just be you. Right, there's Saxius lurking in chat. He might join us in a bit. Depends. He's doing some work at the moment. General Nut, Mr. Baker, Brian James, Andy Hewson, and Tien Tori. Hello. There are actually 9 people in chat, and here's IQ as well. Hello, Iman. How you doing? I know it's a little bit sort of disorganized, but that's due to me. I had a bit of news regarding my work going forward, and one of my colleagues last weekend resigned because she was working in 2 shop jobs. She was doing about 20 odd hours during the week in one shop, and then working in our shop for 15 to 20 hours alternate weekends. But her sister's just opened a shop, and she's now working full time at it. So she doesn't want to work 40 hours at her sister's shop and then do another 15 to 20 hours alternate weekends in ours. That's a bit much. So sadly, we've lost her, which means I'm going to have to work a lot more weekends than before. So, which is a pain. Because it's going to interfere with my Saturday afternoon gaming. I'll just have to organise myself better. It's as simple as that. Yeah, right. As if that'll ever happen. But that just means I'll be in the shop whenever I play in the Saturday afternoon game, which I do apologise for that in advance for those who play, who don't like hearing the ding-dong whenever a customer comes into the shop. But there we go. We've got to go for the future until we get somebody to replace her or rejiggle the hours. Then it's the way it's going to have to be. So we'll see how we go. Right. Halakar. Overtime money. What's that? You're talking as if I've got contracted hours. I just get paid by the hour. If I work more, I get paid more. But I am the manager. I always do more hours than I get paid for, but that's part of being a manager. And I don't get paid a lot more than the regular staff. So it's not it. You don't do it for the money. So we've also got, there's Richard, and we've got Joe. Hello, Joe the lawyer as well. So Halakar, any games recently?
No, my next gaming session won't be till a week from Saturday. We've got some people. One of the guys in my group is a truck driver, so his schedule can be very chaotic.
Right.
And got another one that's in the process of retiring, so he's trying to put in as many hours as he can.
Yeah.
So that he can get done faster. So.
What type of chaotic? I mean, chaotic good if it pays him well, or chaotic evil if it's just evil, or random chaotic neutral.
It's probably chaotic neutral. Yeah, just chaos for the purpose of being chaotic.
Right. Okay. Oh, fair enough. I've played a few games. Played on Saturday and played OSE in the afternoon in the shop. And my bard is still alive, which is good. In fact, I think we all survived. And then I ran my OSE campaign for the first time in a month in the evening, and sadly a much beloved NPC passed away. Sir Godfrey, the delightfully stupid, the loyal, the trustworthy, the brave, the stupid. He decided to defend the rest of the party's retreat against a polar bear, and he's a first level OSE paladin, and it was a polar bear. The rest of the party were hailing in missiles to try and help him, but it hit him twice. That was that. Bye, Godfrey. Oh, it was only an NPC anyway. Based on a character from a 2E campaign that I ran a few years ago. An equally stupid, equally good-natured and brave paladin. But played with my face-to-face group on Monday, and we finished. It's the mythological Greek styled game, and we finished off our version of the Olympics, and our team were dominant, but we have sailed away on this boat now to see what the future brings. And then Call of Cthulhu on Tuesday. Tuesday's session was, I don't know, there was a lack of spookiness to it. They were arriving in a new city. They were arriving in Milan, and it was a little headless. And I think part of the issues stem from a bit of, would my character pick up on that and be interested in investigating it? And what I should have said really at the time is, remember, when you're creating Call of Cthulhu characters, they're not just called PCs or adventurers, whatever. They are called investigators. So if your character is a scientist, then your character is an investigator first and a scientist second. Yeah, but you do have the clues, Andy.
You said Call of Cthulhu. You summoned me.
You do have the clues. I think you were a little bit tired, and Iman, your character's just going a bit bonkers.
Yes.
I just want to remind people that your characters are investigators first, and whatever your other profession is second in Call of Cthulhu. So never be scared to pick up on any clue you might find, no matter how you might think it's unconnected. So there.
Yes, I do know you said that, very few red herrings in any Call of Cthulhu adventure, but
yeah, Call of Cthulhu adventures have very few red herrings in them. That's the thing.
Maybe I'm missing something that's really obvious, but I honestly
I may make up some red herrings, or you may suggest going somewhere, and I may then have to go off on a tangent, which might be an entire red herring. But hey ho, let's see how you get on next session.
I think I was pretty open-minded about all the options, but maybe I'm wrong.
I'm not saying where things went a little bit wrong, because that's for you to work out. It's for you to work out what you're missing, what you haven't picked up on, and how things connect together. Because that's the point of it. That is the point of it. But you have had your clues.
Heckin' trying. Look, you can't say it for lack of trying, right? You know I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm not just sat there saying fuck all and just being a passenger in the story. I'm actually trying to progress things.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
I say we have obviously we had, and Andy admitted he was tired after a long day. I know Manfred's been going through a few things recently that's keeping him a little distracted and wearing him out. So as a group, I think I come back next Tuesday energized and having thought about the clues that I've given you. That's the best thing. Yeah.
It's funny because we've lost 2 players and we've also lost a player character.
Lost 2 players.
It's going well. General Nut and Bishop.
Oh yeah, yeah. RW Bishop and General Nut. So yeah, we are 2 players. We are 2 players down. If anyone ever fancies a game of Call of Cthulhu on a Tuesday, we started off with 6 players, and for differing reasons, 2 players have pulled out, and I can certainly squeeze in another. And the episodic nature of Horror on the Orient Express is such that anyone can drop in for a chapter and drop out if necessary. Yeah, it's easy. It's easy to do that. So it's there. It's open. The game is there. Yeah, you are 2 PCs down.
I feel like, the more brains we bash together, the better solutions we'll come up with.
I've run pub quizzes for 27 years. And while that is true to a point, there's an optimal quiz team size. And when solving something like a Call of Cthulhu scenario, I think it's about the same. And I believe it's between 4 and 6.
I was going to say 4 to 6, yeah.
Yeah. Any more than that, and it just descends into anarchy.
Yeah, it's like Monopoly, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
See if I can put my gaming skills to a real life use.
Well, yes. Okay, so I believe that the Call of Cthulhu game is the only game that you've played in, isn't it, IQ?
I did briefly play in a few OSE sessions a while ago.
No, I mean over the last week.
Oh God, yeah, no, nothing else apart from Cthulhu. Yeah.
Hello, Doof. Andy,
looking forward to Palladium, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Andy, yeah, of course you can sacrifice Simon to the great old ones. Whether the great old ones will be thankful of that happening is another matter entirely. And whether there might be some form of punishment involved, that might also happen. Yeah, I introduced him to a brat on the train. While they were on the train, they got tormented by a 6-year-old. Yes.
Well, Harold specifically did.
Yes, and there was an old woman with 2 cats as well. Charlotte and Emily.
Yeah, who apparently hated the fact that I have German heritage for no reason.
Oh, the old woman hated your German heritage. Yes, yeah. It's 5 years after the First World War. She's an old English woman.
I said I was born in England. It's not my fault.
It doesn't matter. You've got a German name, so there. That's all that matters. Combat in Call of Cthulhu, Richard, is extremely fast and dangerous.
And also a bit fast and dangerous, right?
It's quite rare, yeah. Well, it's up to the players half the time whether they get into combat or not, and not usually a good idea.
I don't think we've got into combat yet, have we?
Yes,
we've been in.
No,
we've been in an encounter, but not an actual combat.
You've avoided. When did how did Harold take all this damage? Because Harold got quite badly hurt, didn't he?
Oh God, I don't recall. It was in Paris.
Jumping off the train.
Oh, did he take damage from that?
Yes. Yeah, of course he did.
Okay.
Train going at full speed, and he jumped off and landed in a field. Yes, of course he did.
He could have landed in the void.
Well, yeah, that's what happened to Roland's character, isn't it? He jumped off the train in the void.
Ouch.
And that's why he died. So, but no, at least Andy jumped off when you came back to planet Earth and landed in a muddy field and got knocked out and ended up in hospital.
A day early.
Left. Oh, yes. There is that issue of time moving at odd speeds. Yes.
And then let's not even mention Dream Lausanne.
Where is Elfbait? I don't know where Elfbait is. I was a little late setting the stream up, Nutty. I don't know if he's aware of what we're talking about tonight. He's had a ping. Everyone who's a member of the channel or in the stream regulars bit had a ping. So, but I'm guessing he's probably working, probably busy. But we'll see. Right. Okay. So both of you, I'd like to know your experience in any form of gaming of mass battles.
I've used Battle System as a player. I went through Bloodstone Pass, and then as a DM, I used it one time. I had a group that was in the Queen of the Demon Web pits, and at one level of the abyss, there are all these basically doors that you can open up, and it'll take you to a whole new world. And one of the worlds they went to was it was a ice planet. And there was a castle that had like 800 dwarves in it and a silver dragon, and they were being attacked by a bunch of demons. So the players decided they were going to go organize the dwarves and make a full-out battle of it, and they were able to actually win the battle. It took a while to get used to the combat system using Battle System, but once we did, it went fairly quickly. And there's a lot of pitfalls. There's a lot of gaps and holes and things in the, if you want to call it the realism of it. But I haven't tried any. That was the very first iteration of Battle System that came out. I don't know if the newer ones are better. That's just the only one I have. Still got my original box.
Yeah. We have a Saxius. He's made it. He's made it here. And yeah, it's on my list of things to come to, because I'm going to mention how it was integrated into certain modules. But yes, I've heard some good things about Red Arrow, Black Shield. Zach just brought a shirt of doof turning. Is that a Denmark? Yes. Are you forcing Doof to depart? Is that what it is? Scaring him off?
I am sanctifying the stream, making sure that no unholy demons may enter.
Isn't the Danish flag the world's oldest flag?
Yes.
There you go.
They should really update it. No, I'm joking.
Ask Estonia. Last time we updated it, it was in Estonia, and the Baltics paid for it. Anyway.
Andy's mentioned that he's ran a mass battle to find out how it would turn out for his home game. But was it Battle System he used, or was it just standard AD&D 1E rules? Because there were tweaks in Battle System. There were tweaks. But okay, so Halakar, you've had some experience with Battle System. Any other systems you've tried?
Just in board games. I mean, we did a lot of the Axis and Allies and stuff like that, but in role playing, Battle System has been the only mass combat. Now, when we first started playing and didn't really understand all the mechanics, I don't even remember what it was we were fighting, but there was a bunch of them. So the DM just added all their hit points together. So there was like 120 hit points worth of orcs, and whenever we would hit, you'd subtract all the damage you did. So if you hit an orc with 3 hit points for 12 points of damage, that extra damage rolled over. So I mean, it was
it's one way of doing it.
Yeah. It was something. It wasn't close to any rules. It was definitely a homebrew kind of thing, but you know, we were young and it was exciting and we had fun doing it. So,
Iman's muted himself. I was going to go to Iman next, but he's muted.
I'm here.
Oh, go on, Iman. You're here. You're there. I know you don't have much RPG experience, Iman, but have you played any mass battle games? And you can include video games that in here.
Video games would be most of my points to draw off, to be honest.
Okay.
Mass battles in games tend to be leaning towards the wave-based survival shooter genre.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There isn't really much else in the way of mass battles, or at least mass battles on a scale that is conducive and fair to the fact that there's only one of you and loads of them. If that makes sense.
Right. Okay.
So there's obviously games like Call of Duty and Battlefield, but I don't count that.
No, because you're playing it pretty much as an individual on the field. That's the thing.
Against other individuals rather than against a horde, if you will.
Yeah. Yes.
Other than that, I can't think of anything really.
Okay.
But it would be things along the lines of Zombie Army Trilogy or Sniper Elite, those sorts of things.
Okay. So I mean, Nutty. Yes, the plan is to talk mainly on RPG mass battles, but of course there will be influences from elsewhere. That's why I asked him on that. Saxius,
Hi.
you are a bookkeeper and a stats nerd, are you not? Mass battles should be right up your alley.
It just so happens I may have an interest in that. I mean, I do own Birthrights, where there is an entire system, based around mass battles, where I just coincidentally happen to have all the small cards that you would then put down on a map to simulate your troops moving around. I'm not even talking about I would then force my players to go through the logistics. No, sir. I wouldn't dream of doing that.
Of course you would.
I would do that and so much more. Right.
I would enjoy it.
Yeah, I know. It would actually be a lot of fun for those who are inclined for it, but I enjoy mass battles anywhere down from the skirmish levels where it is, the players against, just normal odds of like 5-6 players against 30-40 orcs, and then watchers they have to, do guerrilla tactics, which in essence it's still a mass battle. I still have to run 30 to 40 orcs to keep them busy, and then all the way up to I'm running Red Hand of Doom for a 5e group, and they have just come to the final chapter where they have got to basically endure a continuous like one night siege where a 10,000 big army is attacking a city. It's Helm's Deep, and they've got to survive the night for this, and they're all thinking, we're going to be doing this for weeks, if not months. It's like, no, this is a one night, everything is thrown at you. You will not have a chance to even short rest, because every half an hour something will be happening. You will be running around. So when it comes to mass battles, I just break it down like, what is the scale we're looking at? Is it, a huge battle, but we are focusing on just the players? Will then have key events in their area that will take place, so that the wider battle itself is then influenced by the successes or failures of the players, and then from there you can guide things along. Whereas a smaller skirmish or smaller larger battle is much more down to the tactics of the players, and you do a lot more one-on-one at that point. So I've run them. It's a consistent thing that I do in my games. As and when I can, I try to throw more enemies, usually equal to a lower monsters against them, because I like the whole thing of the players have got limited resources, but the enemy has a significantly higher resource, so they have to be clever with how they approach things. It's similar to that module that you were talking about, where the players were stuck in a keep, and like 100 of like 500 hobgoblins, fire giants, and manticores suddenly come over the hill, and they now have to defend this keep. You're under resourced, but you have certain tactical advantages that will allow you to overcome it. I like that.
I fully intend to come to that adventure, as I do as often as possible, because it's very good. Any other game systems you've used? So you
Oh yeah, I've gone all the way over to just using tabletop war games like Warhammer Fantasy, and I have even like the war game itself. I've also done mass games in Warhammer 40,000, the role-playing games, where you can play as soldiers in a literal war. So I've done that. I've done Deathwatch, I've done Rogue Trader in Warhammer. Is literally like playing Risk. You've got your own units and you've got to move them across the map, and you do certain things. That has been that was a very big. That took some adjusting to from the players, because they were expecting high level stuff, but it was very like moving chess pieces all the time, and they had to think a lot. And I would then modify the rules by saying, okay, if you have an engineer group, you will have these benefits because you can do X, Y, and Z. You can do this with your artillery to do that, and so on. So like there was all of these moving parts as you would expect from an actual army. So the players suddenly had to think like generals of having to support everyone.
Yep.
So it was logistics based, but it was fun because the players suddenly had to switch hats and think about like how far they stretched the lines and how many soldiers that they have to overcome the enemy. So like I've got a number of different systems for it, but not. I want to point out not all systems are made to go through mass combat.
No, exactly, yeah. I mean, there's you've touched on a few things I want to talk about in a bit, but I'm just going to go through my own experience of it all. All John needs is a big hat, and he'd look like Kurt Russell in The Thing. Do I take that as a compliment? I've had the fluffy bits at the sides have all come off. I've trimmed, had a good trim to make it my face, rather than go out like a big bush, it's coming down now. Right, my own experience of running mass battles, probably half a dozen games of Warhammer with a friend of mine who always palmed me off with a crap army. So that's what I claim, because he always beat me. Either that or he had loaded dice, or maybe I just didn't know the rules, or I was crap. Lots and lots and lots of video games involving big ass battles, from skirmishy ones like your Dune 2 and Command and Conquer, through ones with bigger skirmishes like StarCraft, played Warcraft 2. Fields of Glory was an interesting one I played, a Napoleonic one on the PC a while back. I haven't played any of the ones in recent years. So the more recent, the Total War series, for example, something I need to give a try to now that I've got a PC capable of running that sort of thing a lot better. But most of mine was with sort of like the real-time strategy, Age of Empires, that sort of thing. You're skirmishing where you're using military units and you're trying to match up militarily against an opponent. Age of Empires 2 especially. Again, it's all fairly small scale though. I've played Battle System. In fact, just as Halakar has it behind him, I have Battle System there, upside down. That is 1E AD&D Battle System. And that is 2E AD&D Battle System. I've not played that.
I bought that one. I know I don't have it now.
I've only read bits of it. I've never learnt how the rules work in this one. I was going to, for the purpose of a campaign, but we never got that far. I've played a Birthright campaign that ended in a mass battle, which we won. And do you remember? It's in my. Are you in my Discord, Joe? Are you in my Discord? If you click the blurb at the bottom of this, it'll take you to my Discord, and the link is there. Or I could just. Oh no, I'll just throw it out. This is for Joe.
I forgot about all the tokens and buildable things and all that they had in Battle System. I'm just looking through the guide here, and the catapults and bridges and buildings. And one neat thing is it had a guide on how to properly paint miniatures.
It did. Yeah, it had a couple of miniatures with it. And what else? Yes. Do you remember when 5e first came out, and before 5th edition had horribly bloated and gone down, all the nonsense that's gone down in the last 3 or 4 years? They used to actually come out with something in the on the website. They used to come out with an Unearthed Arcana column. And they had something on there called When Armies Attack or When Armies Clash. And it was an adaptation of 5th edition for mass battle purposes. And I ended a 5e campaign using it. And it worked. I don't know whatever happened to it, but it worked.
Well, I know that there's a supplement that's been released by a third party, Matt Cowell, who's come out with a castles and followers, and another one where it's kingdoms and something else, where you effectively you run your kingdom, but you also run large scale combats.
Yes.
Solid stuff, to be honest.
Yeah, people have done that. Hello, Joe.
Hey guys,
Nice
how you doing? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah, it's a cool topic. I love the mass combat stuff because it's different than anything you do in D&D. It's kind of like a nice treat sometimes, but sometimes it gets completely out of hand and you're like buried and bogged down. And it's like, oh, why did I do this?
Yeah, but as a change of pace and as a natural event in a campaign, it can be very interesting and can add a different dimension to the way the campaign works.
Agreed.
Because there's a lot of politics involved beforehand, getting an army sorted out and all that sort of stuff. And of course, Saxius with his spreadsheets, with all the I don't know if you've met Saxius before, but
no. Hello.
he is Mr. Nitty Gritty when it comes to gaming. He loves all his resources and stuff.
Okay, excellent.
You have an army now. How are you going to feed it, and how are you going to resupply arrows?
Yeah. That sounds like an Axe kind of a game, Adventure Conqueror King with all the nitty gritty details there.
Yes, I've got that too.
What kind of pieces are they going to get slogging through the mud?
Absolutely.
Yep.
So, Joe, as I've already asked everybody else, what mass battle games systems have you got experience with? And
I'll tell you a bunch of different ones. A quick overview. I did Battle System like we all did back in the day, right? The first, there's the red box one, right? Or the blue box. I forget which one. It was the first one. Had all those tiny little chits that you had to tear out, and then you lost and you found it for the next 5 years in your mattress and under the bed and on the floor. Yeah, there you go.
Ones,
Yep, all that. And it was confusing and it sucked and I hated it.
I liked it.
Did you?
Quite good.
Because the chits, the moving them around and everything was so hard. I'm like, the hell with this, right? So we were never that much. My brother and I were never that much into the war games. And then I guess maybe the next time I did it was, if you guys remember, in the early OSR days, there was this guy. He wrote a book called Delta's Book of War. It was a tiny, thin little book that broke down. This guy was a computer guy, and he broke down the effectiveness of various troop types against each other on like a computer program. He had them fight them thousands of times against each other so that he could say, okay, 1 orc equals 3 ogres or 3 ogres equals 5 giants, whatever the comparison was. And he did the math involved, and it was really good. I did that once and it was kind of fun, but I didn't really want to do it again. So the next sort of things I would do was, I always had like the PCs doing stuff in the middle of mass battles, right? And if it was a bigger mass battle, I had them do the extra things. They were like the strike force held in reserve, right? If they weren't high enough level to be running the battle, they would be in the, oh, here comes the 5 giants are coming. You go kill them. They were like the Navy SEALs, basically. Go out there and take them down, right? So that was that way they get to partake in the mass battle and the vibe and the thrill of it all. But they weren't really doing like the nitty gritty of all the planning, which they kind of didn't want to do, and I didn't want to get into that side of it either. And then there was sometimes where I do like big skirmishes. I think you guys were talking about earlier, where if you have, let's say, 80 guys assaulting the keep, and you have like, your 5 PCs are there, and they have maybe a handful of other extra, red shirt type defenders. I found a way to do it where you have 80 tokens on the board, roll 20 or whatever you're playing, right? But I basically don't keep track of hit points as much on individuals as, okay, 13 of the red shirts shot arrows, you roll 13 D20, 9 of them hit. Right. And then the average damage is 5. That would take out an average of 6 guys. Boom. 6 guys wiped off the board. Rather than keep track of all the individuals and all the, all the enemies, it just that would become a math grind and a minutia grind. Right. So I just do a kind of not theater of the mind almost, but more like extrapolation, I guess you could say. Extrapolate how much damage, therefore how many troops are gone on the other side, and what's the general region where they were shooting, therefore it's probably these guys, and that's that sort of thing. That's what I tend to do nowadays more so than anything else. I don't do the mass battles anymore, the big army stuff. I did have a big world-ending, world-changing thing with tens of thousands of troops, and it was the culmination of my 4.5 year campaign, and the PCs were all 20 plus level, and so they were doing the big kill the demon stuff, kill the Type 6 demon, all that sort of thing, while the battle was raging around them.
Yes.
But while they were getting there, sometimes they had to deal with the stuff going on in the battle. You know what I mean? There was shrapnel essentially, and shrapnel came in various sorts and types, right? It was there's now a red dragon and a blue dragon fighting fighting a gold dragon in front of you. Do you want to help that, or do you want to move on to the goal here, right? That sort of thing. So I gave them choices, tactical choices, while they were doing certain things, and that made it kind of fun. I
was gonna. I mean, it's a topic I was going to touch on later in the stream, but we might as well discuss it now, seeing as it's been brought up a couple of times, and that is the idea of breaking the battle down into what the player characters are doing versus what else is happening on the battlefield. And the first before 5e went to pieces, in my opinion, the first 5e game I ran, my group were about level 5 or 6 at the end of the campaign, and I had this idea that they would find a gate to one of the hells underneath a volcano, which was causing the volcano to erupt and threaten the town. And depending on what they did, an army would spill out at some point. This is why I use the When Armies Attack edition that was published on the web. And I set it up so that all their allies and the townsfolk were in the town, were behind hastily arranged barricades in the town. And there was an army of 500 devils, mostly one hit die devils, marching, plodding relentlessly, slowly, fiercely towards the town, shrouded by lava from the mountain, from the volcano that was erupting. There'll be some other devils as well. You've got your spine devils and things like that, as acting as sort of like sergeants. But the key was that the devils' organization and command structure hinged very much on having two leaders. And the players were meant, if the idea was that the players would try and isolate the leaders, take the leaders out, and that would swing the battle in their favor, because the devil's command structure would break down with them being so organized. And that's how it played out. And it worked very nicely. And I will say that system actually worked fine. I didn't fall out with 5th edition until later on, when I realized just how it broke down at 8th, 9th, 10th level and then got silly. But at that time, I was still enjoying it. But to be honest, if I was going to ever type up that campaign, I would convert it to an old school system now, because my 5th edition books are, I'm not running 5th edition again. But for that instance, though, it worked. And the sort of the heroic nature, 5th and 6th level characters being able to take down moderately powerful demons actually worked for the purpose of that battle. It added that degree of what the players wanted from the game, that heroic element. And yeah, one of the characters died due to massive wounds. Don't get yourself critted by a flying Irenes who can fire multiple poisoned arrows in a single attack. And because the critical damage doubles the poison damage as well, and 2 of the arrows critted, and it proved to me that 5th edition characters can die, as a 6th level bard went from maximum hit points to minus a lot more than his original maximum in a single round. Bang, 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 down, gone, dead.
Nice.
But that's the sort of thing that happens. That sort of thing, and that sort of thing should be on the table, especially when you're taking on a flying devil.
Agreed. I mean, there's got to be a risk, but no risk, no reward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But the idea was that if the party took out the Hellhounds, the Chain Devil, and the Irenes, then the army itself would have that retinue would be the commanding section of the army, and that would give the villagers the chance to, just as the devils were sort of waiting for leadership, the villagers would then be able to press home the advantage of their defenses with the help of a company of dwarves with crossbows manning the walls heroically, as dwarves do.
I like it. Did you guys ever hear of the I think really the only good module, I guess we still call it modules, adventure that they put out for 3rd edition? It was something that
Red Hand of Doom.
Red Hand of Doom. That's what it was.
Yes,
they had. That was a good module. They had victory conditions for battles and stuff like that, and for how to win the war. I thought it was really, really good. I ran it one time. It was pretty excellent.
It's fantastic. I'm on my 5th time running that campaign.
Really?
Yeah, I love it.
It's nice.
They've taken so much. The designers really went out of their way to think of what is going to be happening in here. Yeah. Which is why, at the very beginning, when you do your first major battle against the first captain, there is a designer note that basically goes, "This is the first and possibly the last time you're ever going to get magical items in this entire campaign because you're going to be running all over the place."
Yeah.
They give tips for if your characters are too high level, how to sort of deal with it, and they even openly say maybe the game's not for you if you're running that high level kind of games. This is not made for you. But they really take into a lot of accounts. If these captains survive, when do you see them later? Well, here's when they're going to show up. Here are some side things that you should be aware of that is happening between major, chapters. And here are NPCs and events that will take place. And if these events take place, then that affects later on in the story. These guys, for the page count, you get so much for your buck. They have thought it through from start to finish, and I think it's so well written. They really take it all into account.
Yeah,
and they stay focused. There is such a tight module. You can still be go on.
It's a modular module. I was just going to say it's tight, just exactly what you said. Yeah, it's contained, it's self-contained, and you could do a lot with it, and you could drop it into any setting.
Yes.
So yeah.
It's fantastic, and it even comes up with a few points of if you skip chapter 2 and you don't want to do any of that, that's fine. I think it's a dozen different things you can do just traveling over to the capital. That will keep you busy, and then when you've gotten there, then how can we connect you over to the 3rd chapter so that you can do some things there? And if that doesn't happen here, well, what happens at the very end? Again, it's small designer notes that really helps give a DM who doesn't have a lot of experience will have their hand held from start to finish.
Yes.
And there'll be a very good game from that standard. An experienced DM will read all the designer notes and they will make an excellent campaign because there's so much additional information that you're given that lets you tie it all together.
Agreed. Yeah. Anybody else run that?
I haven't run anything for 3rd edition, so
yeah, you could reskin it for any edition. It's that good.
Easily.
Yeah. A lot of fluff and a lot of flavor, as well as the crunch, which is usable by anything. It's pretty good.
I was completely out of the loop during the years of 3rd and 4th edition, so
yeah, I skipped 4th.
I didn't come back to gaming until that 2012, having departed mid 2nd edition, due to generally sort of being a bit of a dropout for a while, and living a bit of a squalid life.
yeah.
But hey ho. Right, so.
Yeah.
One thing that always
go ahead, dude.
I was going to say one thing that I was wondering when thinking about this topic was, given the origins of our hobby in wargaming, something that is undeniable, it took a long time for an official module to be an official TSR module to be produced that really lent into the wargaming. Of course, I mean, in a lot of those early modules, there was the possibility of some very big battles, such as the giants and the drow, and there was a lot of very big encounters in there. But you were expected to play it out very much as AD&D on a tabletop with AD&D rules, and there wasn't really much thought in terms of tactics other than what was already baked into AD&D there. It took a long time for modules to really grasp the idea that big battles were possible, I think. Battles beyond that skirmish. And I would not be me without the first thing I present on the stream being possibly my favorite mid-level AD&D module of all time, which will be appearing any section now. People will know this adventure. It is, of course, I believe this was the first one where a very, very large battle was integral to the adventure. It's a module for levels 3 to 6 characters, though I would say level 3 characters need not apply. And you've got to be pretty well equipped if you're level 4. But at the center of the adventure is this. I just come down to it. A siege.
Nice.
And if you look at the map, hello, Bear.
Hey,
I hear you're not feeling too well.
no, sir, but I couldn't miss out on this one.
Oh, okay, good. We'll be gentle on you. This is the main map for the adventure. This is a keep. This is a highly defensible keep with lots of arrow slits and murder holes and very thick walls. It's not a very big keep. The main reason is the player characters really need to study its layout and really need to study the details, because when the siege happens, this is the giant's army. Yes, level 3 to 6 characters. They will be besieged by a fire giant, 4 hellhounds with 12 elite hobgoblins, 4 manticores, 4 screaming devilkin, and then infantry platoons, 5 platoons, each of 30 hobgoblins, each with a sergeant, and then 1 sub-chief hobgoblin.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Right.
Holy crap.
Joe, you mentioned about recording casualties. Here you go.
Yeah, nice. Oh, that's
there.
sweet. I like that. I like that idea. You just check the boxes off. Yeah.
Platoon B has a battering ram. Here you go. Here's the layout of the attack. The location of the keep really does help. Really does help the party. But they need to know where those murder holes are and where those supplies of burning oil are, and how to jam the gates. And they're going to have people defending against manticores who are trying to fire into the keep through the windows and arrow slits and all that sort of thing. Meanwhile, they're being pelted by rocks by a fire giant. And there is platoon B of hobgoblins has a battering ram.
Of course they do.
I will say the moment where the party look out over the valley to see what is happening outside, why the castle has just shook, is probably the biggest oh shit moment I've experienced in any AD&D module.
Do they know that a battle is coming? You know what I mean?
Oh,
Do they
can
know
see
that you're?
it.
I mean, but when you start the module, do they know they're in for
No.
a battle? So they're just sitting there like sitting in the bar and having a beer, and next thing you know, boom goes off, right? And they got like, oh shit, what do we do?
Oh, they could well be, because when they arrive, the keep is inhabited by gnolls who have found the beer cellar.
Oh,
and there's a lot of beer that's open and half drunk, and the gnolls are very drunk, which is great, because this adventure not only incorporated mass battles, but it incorporated the intoxication rules from the Dungeon Master's Guide with relation to a company of gnolls, which I thought was marvelous.
Nice.
So yeah, it's a great adventure. It's a great adventure. And this was 1983, early 1984, so around that time. So it took 7 years really for D&D as we know it to put out an adventure which really hinged upon a mass battle. Then, of course, we got X10, B10, H1, H3, and one of the DL series, which all came afterwards, which used battle system or variants of it. So I don't know if any of you know any of that. Well, before we come on to that, Bear, is it flu? Is it flu?
Sounds like a hangover
it's
to me. I don't know.
No, it's a fucking cold. I picked up a bug off someone, so it's sore throat, sore sinuses, coughing, stuffed up, achy muscles, bullshit. I almost paid the whole winter without getting one of these fuckers, and I get one right at the end.
Have you been burning the midnight oil working on Heroic? Is that what it is as well?
No, that's not a tale to be told, sir. That is between me and my God.
But well done on Heroic. I'm glad to see it's going really, really well.
Thank you.
Yes, congratulations, Ben.
I will be backing it. So I will be backing it when I'm next paid.
Okay, so again, I will tell you like I tell everybody, you don't have to worry about that. They're not going to charge your credit card until June when they collect the funds. So you can pledge now and you'll pay in June. Because if they were to charge you now and then it doesn't succeed, they'd have to refund all that money, which would incur the massive administrative charges. So it's all or nothing funding. So don't worry. You can fund today.
Hey, I'm out of the loop, man. What do you have going on? Is it a Kickstarter or something?
It's a backer kit for my Marvel Superheroes Neo clone called Heroic, where I take the old Marvel system and mash it up with astonishing superheroes and some of my stuff, and we produce a new game that's more modernized and a little more au courant.
Dude,
but
awesome.
Let's not talk about that because that's all I talk about anymore. I came here to get away from that because you don't like superheroes, John. You like fantasy.
I do.
Fantasy, John.
I do.
We're here to talk about fantasy, mass battles in fantasy, and Helm's Deep.
Thank you, Sax.
Helm's Deep.
Helm's Deep, indeed. So, Bear, what experience do you have running mass battles in a whether it's just as a strategy game or in a role-playing game?
In the Lord of the Rings game from Decipher, so that would be Coda, they had a really nice little mass battle system in there where you would punch in on the hero characters doing stuff and then pull out and sort of resolve larger events and then punch back on your hero characters. It was really cool. Worked really well.
We were mentioning that sort of thing about 10, 15 minutes ago. I don't know if you heard.
I did not. I forgot you were on.
All right, no worries.
I'm sorry, I'm a bad friend.
It's one way of running mass battles and sort of have the main battle going on sort of in the background, but have the actions of the player characters hitting main parts of the army, the commanders or whatever, have that influence the outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good way. It's a good way of simulating it all. I'm going to admit now that there's a slightly constructive reason for me having this topic, in that I'm currently running a game of MERP, and it is all going to end up, obviously, the way things are going at the moment, with some form of mass battle. And I'm still trying to plan in my head exactly how I'm going to carry it out, because I'm running this game online over Discord as well. So it's going to be possibly a logistical nightmare. But I'm going to have to try and think of my own way of breaking it down and working out how I'm going to display it, how I'm going to portray it, but also the mechanics I'm going to use and how the players can influence it, because they're quite low level. But that's a little way in the future. So it's fair to say, I think, with us being nerds, that most of us will have some interest in the history of big battles and wars and the weapons that were used. Is that a fair assumption?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a natural nerdy thing, isn't it? I mean, the development of the pole arm and playing Age of Empires and wheeling out the trebuchets and things like that.
So I look around at the swords hanging on my wall. Yes, indeed.
Absolutely. I mean, it is a natural, and a lot of us do fancy ourselves as wannabe tacticians as a result of that, I suppose.
If there's anyone's opinion I trust on that more than anyone else, it's General Nut.
Why would
He
you
does
try-
have he's a general.
Yeah, okay. It's in his, but he's also into his putting chickens on heads to be stealthy.
Let's not stop. No, move on.
But yeah, so I think the whole idea of running mass battles and strategic battles does tap into that nerdy psyche. Yeah, I love the Middle Ages as well, General Nut. I think it was a time I'm so glad I didn't live in, but it's utterly fascinating.
Yeah, I couldn't deal with the lack of toilet paper. Yeah.
That would have been an issue. And the back-breaking labour for 16 hours a day just to put food on the table.
Mm-hmm. Kind of a drawback.
Yeah. And then
Nothing much has changed, John. You're still doing 14-hour days.
Only on Sundays. I only do 14-hour days on Sundays at the moment. Moving on. D&D, obviously, there were a number of modules that integrated battle system. Halakar's already waived H1, Bloodstone Pass, the first module to properly use battle system.
Mm-hmm.
A high-level adventure which involved a lot of politicking early on. It's a module I would have loved to have run at some point because I like the idea of the party on a fairly short time frame having to gather together an army to heroically fight against a massive army of bad guys. I think the whole concept it's 2 weeks, isn't it? And you've got to get around all these various people, help them out, prove yourselves to them to get them to fight for you, and then you have a big and there's all sorts of little skirmishes along the way which use battle system as well. And the whole idea is you have this massive battle at the end against the grandfather of assassins or somebody and his forces.
The grandfather of assassins was one of the commanders. A 23rd level priest of Orcus was one of the commanders.
Yes.
18th level archmage was one of the commanders, and then you had all the different bandit armies. I had forgotten about what a mess all that was.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have run it though, or at least attempted to have run it.
I ran it. It was fun. It was actually fun. But then they did the follow-up module that was when you get to go to Orcus's plane, and it was like 100th level module or something. Remember that thing? Yeah, you're in an arena and it's like survive Orcus, right? And it was like, come on. But we tried it. We did it.
A room full of multiple Tarask.
Yeah. That was nuts. It was nuts. It's here's
that series. That series went silly. I mean, the only other official battle system module in that series, I believe, was H3. But the other ones you could use battle system if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the series got silly after that. But H1 has some good points to it. There was a Dragonlance module, which used battle system.
You're right.
Yeah. DL11 was it? I think.
Yep. More chits, I think they had in that one too. Didn't they?
Yeah. And, I never had it. I know it goes for a fortune on eBay now. It's the only Dragonlance module that does. But, and there was B10, Night's Dark Terror, which had a possibility of having a mass battle in it.
And there was Doom.
We mentioned, we've already had a little discussion on Red Hand of Doom there. Yes.
Okay, so apparently what I'll do is I'll just shut up because I'm late, and you guys do
You're in with two Red Hand of Doom fans. In Joe and Saxius.
Well, I'll make it three of us then.
You're a fan of that one as well.
The only good 3rd edition module ever, in my opinion. 3rd edition official published module, I should say.
One thing I'll say for 3rd edition with the original series of modules that came out with that, each one added a new or focused on a new area so that a DM who was just starting or players that were just starting got a chance to see how to use that specific thing in that place. Like in the very first one, the Sunless Citadel, they put you in an encounter that there was no way you could win if you were to fight. So you got to learn that, hey, sometimes running away is a thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Dualumin has filled us in here on DL 11 was a full-on war game. Several of the DLs with battle system battles. DL 14 off the top of his head. I bow to your knowledge there, Dualumin. I'm not a Dragonlance aficionado. I read the books. I didn't like I didn't like DL1 and never went down with the rest of the modules. So,
well, one of the sample scenarios in the battle system box set is the Battle of Qualinost.
Yes,
however you say it, but
as it turned out, I mean, those sample adventures in Battle System box set are the only battle system games I've ever run. So, I found they worked quite well to teach the game, but I never got to use it properly in a campaign. I liked it. I did like it. X10 was the next one, which was a late sort of follow-on to the Desert Nomads adventures. Red Arrow, Black Shield. I know Richard's already mentioned that one. I've got no experience other than a skim read of it. But then, of course, second edition then came along with Birthright. But I have skipped one there. I've skipped one. And that's because I want Halakar to talk about this one. General Nuts just mentioned it. CM1.
Test of the Warlords. Which was, that was supposed to be the getting you towards your path of immortality in the basic and expert set. And you were basically the king summons a bunch of high-level players or high-level characters and gives them each a piece of land, and you roll randomly to determine what your terrain is and what your resources are and all that. And you have to manage this land for I think it's like a year. And if you do, then you get to keep it. You get put in as the overseer of the land. I think you start out as a baron or something, whatever the lowest level one they have. And my piece of land that I got was my resources were some type of valuable metal. I don't remember what it was, and pulpwood for making paper. And there were set encounters that you would do, like they sent everybody out to do this or do that. But then there were random things that would happen throughout the year. And one of the random things that happened to me was I was attacked by a horde of frost giants during the winter. So I had used battle system a little bit. I had some idea of, I thought if we needed to, we could use that. But I ended up luring the frost giants into my pulpwood forest, which during the winter, they were nice and dry. I torched the whole forest. And I lost a resource, but I killed all the frost giants and got everything they were carrying. And, monetary wise, it worked out for the better over the course of that year. So I showed a capital gain. But
is the balance of that adventure? It's not really adventuring as such. But is it more? Is there a lot of role play in it, or is it and diplomacy and politicking, or is it more resource management?
Some of both. I mean, it was a good balance between the two. Like I said, they sent you off to do different things, and it's been 20 plus years. Oh gosh, it's been 30 plus years now since I played that. So I don't remember what any of the specifics are, but there were little mini dungeons that they would send you to, and you had disputes between the neighbors and attacking bandits and giants and whatever else. But it was basically just to give you a toehold into the next set of levels, which was 15 to wherever masters started, 20 something.
I have a question, Halakar.
Yeah.
So you burned the forest to kill the giants, right? And you
Yes.
were able to repel the giants. Cool. How'd you handle the elf revenge the following year for burning the forest?
There are no elves in my land.
No, doesn't matter if they're on your land. All they got to do is hear that some stupid human was burning down forests, and
My fighter was mounted on a bronze dragon with a staff of fireballs. He wasn't worried about elves. Their bows can only shoot so far.
This is why I don't play D&D. When I hear stuff like this, I go, "Oh yeah, that's why I stopped playing D&D."
I
Yeah,
just
just
like
like
the
that.
immediate hard answer of like, there are no elves in my land.
Yeah.
Nice,
No,
yeah.
that sounded good. That sounded like there was a purge or something. Where it's
Yeah,
like,
he burned them all out of the forest and it killed them
there
all. That's
used
why.
to be elves, but not
Two birds, one
anymore.
stone.
Well,
Uh-huh.
well, I'm assuming most elves wouldn't live in a forest of aspen and birch. You know, they're looking for some oak and maple. They want long-lived trees, not something that has a 30-year lifespan.
Mm.
I don't know the elves.
Yeah, who knows? I don't
And
know
that's
what
hard
else
to
think.
tell. Their brains don't
Anyway.
work right.
Anyway, it was just a fun response.
Yes, yes. Where was my brain going then? I can't remember. I was gonna say something and I can't remember what it was. Oh yes. Yes. So tactical stuff in other systems. Now, Bear, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. You're on mute, so I don't know if you.
That's okay. I'm here.
That's okay. Obviously, we're currently playing in a Palladium game, and I can see the propensity in your setup there for some rather large combat.
Yeah.
I'm wondering mechanics you're thinking of using in order to handle it, or are you just going to use like a Palladium skirmish and narrate it in the background?
If I've let me rephrase this. If you guys get into a mass battle situation, you've clearly fucked up.
Okay, right. Avoid it then. Right, I'll take that.
No, I'm not saying avoid it. I'm just saying if you guys find yourselves through the course of this adventure heading into Escaine, the land of wilds, monsters, and disenfranchised warlords, in a mass battle scenario, you've really made some interesting choices.
But
Point
Gerard fancies himself at the head of an army at some point.
You just stop that sentence at Gerard fancies himself. Yeah. No, I would use the same thing I saw in the Lord of the Rings game, which is I just punch in for the hero stuff and not worry about the greater battle. I'm not a war gamer. I don't care about that stuff. It's boring to me.
Right. Okay. Not a problem.
Now, my thing with battle system, when I went through H1 as a player, I had just come out of School of Infantry. So a lot of the tactics that we used, I tried putting in there, and there was no rule for it. There was no bonus for being prone as opposed to standing up for defense. You couldn't lay down a base of fire and then have an enveloping unit because a base of fire wouldn't necessarily keep their heads down in the combat system that D&D uses. It's like, okay, you want initiative, you get to shoot first. Well, the other group is probably not ducking for cover. They're just, taking their hits and misses and then returning their blow, as opposed to the advantage it would actually give.
Aren't there basic cover rules though?
There is.
Which those could be applied, but there is the thought though that how many medieval bowmen would lie down?
Dwarven crossbowmen did, because that was part of my army.
Well, they were dwarves. They were probably drunk. I mean, that's just standard du jour, right?
Yeah, is it more like lie down or fall down?
Yeah.
Let's not go back into last week's conversation about dwarves and drinking.
Like one of the things that during our time of preparation, I had my people go out and cut a bunch, brambles and briars and thorns and all that, since you don't have barbed wire back then, and I made barricades of that funneled them into choke points that's where the heavy weapons were aimed. 3 ballista and 1 catapult aim at this point, because that's where 3 sets of barricade are going to funnel whatever is coming in the attack. And there was no rule for any of that kind of stuff. Using aerial combat, nothing to really reflect that.
Because I'm going to focus on that idea of the crossbowmen lying down. How would they reload their crossbows lying down?
I would imagine the same way they would standing up. Crank the crank and put a bolt in.
Yeah, but you've
I mean, if it was one of the ones with a toe strap where you got to pull it back, you'd need to be standing up for that. But one that's got a windlass that you're cranking to reload wouldn't require it.
I'm referring here back to the Battle of Cressy. Are you all familiar with that?
No.
It was the first. It was nearly 100 years before Agincourt, 70 odd years before Agincourt. Agincourt's the famous one, the Welsh bowmen fighting for the English army, creating that hail of arrows and all the mud and that sort of thing. But the Battle of Cressy was a very similar battle in a lot of ways. A much smaller British force against a much larger French force. And the French had the much vaunted Genoese crossbowmen mercenaries, who were elite crossbowman units. But in order for them to operate, they carried large pervices, those big shields. And what they did is they stuck the pervices in the ground or had someone hold the pervice, and they took cover behind it because in order to load their crossbows, they had to be stood up. They'd be cranking it up like that. And one of the main keys of the key aspects of the battle, apart from the weather as well, which made the crossbows much next to useless, was the fact that because of events leading up to the battle, the Genoese crossbowmen's pervices were left behind in their baggage train, which meant these mostly unarmored crossbowmen were just open to the bow fire because they had to stand up to get their crank up the crossbows, much slower rate of fire, and they were just absolute sitting ducks. They couldn't lie down to load their crossbows. They were stood up. And they got absolutely annihilated. And then they turned and fled back through their own cavalry. The French cavalry saw them fleeing and cut them down, even though they were on the same side, because they were deemed them as cowards.
Jesus. Never. I mean, most
That's
deaths
ironic.
in combat are in the back, right? I mean, with people running away, they get killed. So that makes sense.
Yeah. So that battle was absolute carnage. The scale of the battle as well was 3 or 4 times as big as Agincourt. It was a lot bigger.
Wow.
Poitiers was another one. Manfred's mentioned Poitiers. I don't remember Bouvin, however you pronounce it. Cressy was the first use of cannon in Europe. Very possibly. Not hand cannons. So hand cannons, I believe, were first used to good effect at Cerignola, which was an Italian battle around beginning of the 16th century in a field battle. Okay. But yeah, I mean, cover would have delayed it, Nutty. Cover would have allowed them to get some more volleys off. But didn't they just got absolutely shredded. And so that's where I was picking up on the idea of the dwarfs lying down to load their crossbows, because what I know about crossbows on the battlefield comes from Cressy. I don't know much about crossbows after that, different types of crossbows. I know certainly at the time of Cressy, you had to stand up and you had to really, really, really crank that crossbow up to be able to load it.
Yeah, but that's in D&D terms. Those crossbows that they were using were being considered heavy crossbows as well.
Yeah, true.
Not light light crossbows. The ones that you generally see adventurers walking around with. The ones that are just about the size of your chest. Where you can get like a few shots off, and then you have to basically put them against like your hip and physically pull them back. Like that's typically what we would expect when we see adventuring pictures. The heavy crossbows are the ones that are almost man-sized, and as you said, you need to have a crank with it. Well, we're getting into the nitty-gritty of that, but that's I suppose it's about logistics. Go on.
Hey, Geek, could I share something on my screen here? I think it's a little bit different than what we're talking about. It's a let me pull it up here. What it really is, it's a matter of, hold on, a long campaign. All right. So if you're doing like let's say a 6-month battle, right? That's gonna something that's gonna last from as soon as the spring thaw until the end of the summer. And it's a small level, but thousands of troops, and you have forts and towers and defensible positions, and 5 or 6 on each side. I ran this. I had to make up a system to do this. Let's see here. There you go. I think I'm sharing it now. So what I did was I created a system of battle where each side, the PCs were not involved in the actual nitty gritty of all 6 towers on your side. You're not there manning them, fighting them, determining what's going to happen. You're out in the field doing things in between. But I wanted the stuff happening in the background. I wanted people to know what it was and what was going on in terms of which direction is the war swinging, right? And so for each month, all right, you had a couple of different major battles that were going to happen. And it wasn't always a battle. Sometimes it was disrupt enemy communication, protect your own communication, disrupt your supplies, protect your supplies, fight to gain a strategic position. So I would roll a few of these each month to see which it was and which side was going to get it. And the victory points were allotted. And after a certain amount of victory points, one side beat the other. Right. So you'd roll a few times. So let's say you were doing protect your intelligence and protect your fort. Right. So basically what you would then do is, okay, now we know what's going on. We know how many victory points we're going to get. Then you had to figure out an attack bonus, right? So a lot of factors went into this. A strategic bonus plus morale plus your basic fighting ability, any sort of tactical modifiers, and if you had a surprise modifier, that equals your attack bonus. And then when you did the battle, 2d6, and they add the attack bonus for each side. High roll wins, you get the victory points for that thing. Then you figured out casualties. But scrolling up here, all those components of the attack bonus. So the strategic bonus, it's your base plus some sort of military cunning. That's a DM discretion. Like, yeah, that's a great plan. I'll give you a +1 for that sort of thing, right? And then the enemy determined by the DM, right? So the goblins might get a couple of ideas, but they're stupid. Their orcs might get maybe 1. They're not, maybe 5. They're not as stupid, right? Then you figure out the morale, all right? If you had a commander in the fortress, you had a higher morale, a war leader, or a king, a much, much higher morale. So your initial morale of the troops plus commander bonus or a war leader bonus in that area, all right? And then the base fighting ability for each side. I have a whole, based on your attack bonus, basically, and depending on what type you were, militia, army, mercs, cavalry, barbarians, things like that, that gave you a different number. And then your attack modifier, tactically speaking, it goes down to weather, superior combat magic, healing magic, or superior defensive positioning, superior scouting, right? That happened between sessions role play. Then it was a surprise, right? A fort can't surprise, but the fort can be surprised. That goes into the attack bonus determination. You do the battle, like I said, and then the post battle, you figure out your casualties, add up your victory points. And I even worked out a battle sheet for each unit, right? So if you had by units, I mean each 6 towers, each tower would be a unit, right? So you'd figure out everything and then add it up, and that way you keep track of what was going on, who died, who lived. And after I got this from Hand of Doom, the whole victory point thing. I wanted to do something where I could have a lot of stuff going on in the background, a lot of fighting. But the PCs didn't necessarily have to be involved in the nitty gritty. But what happened in the background affected the PC group as to what they're going to be facing. And so I would do 1 month at a time, basically. Okay, so in other words, okay, it's March, it's May, whatever it is, however you do your months in your campaign. All right, it's May. Here's the situation. Here's tactically what happened last month. You, PC group, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Do you want to take part in anything? Do you want to focus your attention in this fort, in that area? And I always had a few sandboxy ideas. All right, you hear rumors over here and rumors of that over there. Now tell me what you're going to do, and that may affect some of these roles. And so basically, it was a nice little system. I've never published it or put it out there, but I need to fine tune it a little bit based on what I did and play tested a bit. But I thought it was pretty cool.
About 8 to 10 pages.
Yeah, let me see. It's they're about 6 pages.
6 pages.
6 pages long.
Yeah.
So
not overly complex then, nice and simple.
No, it is. Yeah, I wanted to make it simple enough that people could just grab it. And the hardest part you're going to do is figuring out each unit battle, right? So if you have 6 forts, you're going to have one of these things for each fort. right? Basically, what I had is like the Maginot Line. Essentially, you have a bunch of forts on one side, a bunch of forts on the other, and the battle zones in between. You know, depending on terrain or mountains or whatever sort of thing. And so you figure out these sheets, and then you figured out your unit's attack bonus and all the other things that went into it on a month by month basis. So there's work each month to do, right? You might do in a 3 or 4 hour session, you might get a couple months worth of battles done. But you generally wouldn't do that straight up because the PCs are going to be doing something in the meantime, right? So you could develop, plot hooks and, tangents and sandboxy things for the PCs to do. So I kind of enjoyed it. It worked out pretty well, I think. Worked out pretty well. But it's not a battle system per se. It's a system for a long campaign, but not a massive one in scale. We're talking thousands of troops on each side rather than tens of thousands of troops on each side. I don't think this would scale, for a massive war. It wouldn't scale for World War II. It might scale for something on the, quarter the size of Ukraine, right? Something like that, right?
But it might also work for things like a siege and things like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. This is perfect for a siege. I mean, then there's only 2 groups, right? You only have 2 units, the sieger and the siegee. That means, you know what I mean? That's all you would have there. So yeah, you'd be able to do this on a month by month basis and figure it out. But then it's just a matter of victory conditions, and you're not really keeping track of individual troops that way, right? It becomes an extrapolation in a sense, and the PCs can do whatever the PCs want in the meantime. So yeah, I just wanted to throw it out there. It's a little bit different, but it really worked for me though. I enjoyed it. The players seemed to like it too. And I ran it by a few guys, Matt Jackson, who I bust his chops all the time, but he was in the military for like 30 years or something. And I said, does this make sense? Am I missing anything? He threw me some tips. So yeah, it worked out pretty good. I think the group liked it. So yeah, a little bit different.
Most importantly, could you run the events of the film Zulu using it?
I don't think I've seen the film Zulu.
Never seen the film Zulu?
No.
The Battle of Rorke's Drift.
No. Now I got to IMDb Zulu. Holy cow! What am I missing here?
It's Michael Caine, probably Michael after the Italian Job, probably Michael Caine's most famous film.
Okay. Dwarfing the Mighty. All right, I'm watching the trailer now for Zulu.
I would
1964
with you on that, John, but I would say Michael Caine has done better films in his day.
He may have done better films, but are they more famous films?
Also, did you know that if you say Michael Caine, like Michael Caine, it sounds like you're saying Michael Caine?
Michael Caine.
You snort a lot or just a little?
Michael Caine.
Michael.
Hey, that stuff's illegal.
But
no.
The line he says in that, it's something like Zulus, thousands of them, something like that. And he's supposed to be like I think the character he's playing was actually a posh, well-educated British commander, but he was Michael Caine. My name is Michael Caine.
Well, I've never seen Michael Caine look more like Michael Caine than in this picture. I gotta say, I just want to share that there, Geek. That is such a. Yeah, that's Michael Caine to the extreme right there. It really is.
Absolutely.
That's the epitome of him.
It looks like Tony Curtis, but angry.
He's got that eye look, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But it is a good. I like that. I like Zulu.
Yeah.
All right, I am gonna have to bounce now. It's pumpkin time.
No problem, dude.
You were working weren't you, up until about 9:30, so
Yeah.
Cheers, Saxius.
Thank you.
Later,
Good to meet you, buddy. And guys, I have to bounce too. I finished off work and I need to go to the gym because God darn it, I've eaten too much in the last couple months and I need to get back on track. So I'm dedicating myself to this gym schedule, darn it. And so thank you though for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
No problem,
it.
Jack.
Worked out well.
nice to meet you.
You too, buddy. You too. All right. Take care, everybody. Bear, hope you feel better. Helicar,
Thanks,
Intellectual
Joe.
Quandary, Geek, thanks as always. I just joined your channel, your Discord server, Geek, so now I can check the links in there, man, if you'll have me back. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you
Cheers.
very much. Take care.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Take care, mate.
I mean, I'd certainly be interested in reading through Joe's rules there because they, to me, look like how rules should be when you incorporate them into an RPG. 6 pages of them, not whole rafts of them. easy to learn, and most importantly, the actions of the players have a direct impact on how things go from month to month. Sounds good to me. Sounds good.
Well, I like the fact that there are that he had multiple win conditions.
Yes.
Because in Battle System it was just a matter of you kill all the bad guy. There wasn't anything in there for cutting off their supply lines or capturing the 3 high points so they were stuck down in the valley where you could continuously rain indirect fire on them or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. I mean, Battle System was an attempt to adapt AD&D for mass battles. So obviously we went chainmail to OD&D. Chainmail was sort of forgotten. Then basic D&D and AD&D, and then back to its roots almost with Battle System. But by now, they were getting the people from AD&D to go back to it, so it had to feel like AD&D, which did make it a little bit crunchy. But I enjoyed Battle System when I ran it. I enjoyed it. Oh, Joe's back.
Back. I'm sorry, guys. I just realized that when I left, I figured it would end the simulcast, and I realized now I have no idea how to end my simulcast. So I think.
Does anyone know how to end?
I guess you can keep going. I'm just not going to be there.
Up at the top, the right upper
I
right
have a-
hand. Up at
Oh,
the
yes.
upper right hand top of StreamYard,
Yeah.
you can click on your link and then end it there.
Oh, yes.
There's no end. It just says remove or edit. Interesting.
Yeah, remove.
Remove. That'll end. Okay. A post was remove this destination from the stream. Okay, I will remove it. All right, guys. Thanks very much. Talk to you later.
Geez,
No worries. Take care, mate.
Bye.
So Bear, you know more about simulcasting. Simulcasting, we would say here. You would say simulcasting.
Take it easy.
Yes, simulcasting for us Brits.
Us Brits with a short eye. Simulcasting. Yes, I think Elfbait's right here. Scenario goals are always easy enough to add to existing rule systems. Yes, they are. But it's nice to have something to use as a baseline for them. And having those victory points as a baseline I think that's a good idea. And certainly, I mean, there were morale rules for fleeing the field in Battle System, and you could add victory points quite easily for forcing armies off the battlefield. Once they're off the battlefield, they're gone. That's disappeared into the wilderness or whatever.
Well, I know a lot of the we call them bookshelf games. I don't know what you guys call them over there, but like Squad Leader and Blitzkrieg and all that. You know, they were in a box about the size of what the Battle System box was, but each one was its own game. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those had different win conditions, and most of them were World War II based or themed. And man, I'm trying to think of some of the ones. Like if you could achieve certain things, then the United States would not come into the war. If you could do certain other things, then Russia surrendered by 1940. You know, all different things that could change the landscape in terms of play.
One of the notes on my page here is adding in rules and ideas from other games. So that's it's bringing in these rules, mixing and matching, just sort of cobbling together something that will work for you. And yes, that's a perfect example. And I think I like the idea of Joe's rules, and hopefully he'll post them up in the Discord so we can have a closer look. Unfortunately, Saxius has gone before I could start talking about how 2E adapted things, because as I say, even though I've got this book, I've not really learnt the rules to see how different they are from 1E. But second edition had Birthright, and Saxius, how dare you go to bed before you can talk about Birthright? My experience of Birthright is I enjoyed the campaign, but I don't remember much about the mass battle at the end.
I never played it, so I have no clue.
I seem to remember the nuts and bolts and nitty gritty of the actual campaign and the politicking and getting allies and whatever was more engaging to me than the actual battle at the end. I think the battle itself was underwhelming, but I don't know if the GM used the actual birthright rules or some adapted system. I think he used the proper birthright rules. So, but I don't know enough about it, unfortunately. As I was merely a player in that game, which is, I mean, it's a way of experiencing it. But I've never read any birthright material, so I can't say much either way. I enjoyed the game.
Now, this all has me thinking. What would it be like to, let's say, rescue a bunch of the prisoners, convince some of the outer dwellers to join your forces, whatever, and do a mass combat in D3 instead of sneaking your way through the Drow City and finding information, all that? Just lay siege to it.
I think that would work. I think if you're using battle system, it'd be horribly complex to factor in all the Drow's various powers. But
that would just take that set of adventures on such a different path.
Oh, it could do, yes, absolutely. But how do you trust your forces when the Drow are involved?
Well, that's the thing.
Didn't you say that Joe's system would be good for that?
Yeah. Joe's system could be good. But the thing with this particular adventure, though, is the forces you would have to use are all chaotic evil dark elves.
You could recruit the Kuatoa,
who are also chaotic evil, I believe.
But they hate the Drow.
Yeah. You got to learn to communicate with the Kuatoa first. I think
the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, you got to learn to communicate them. I think there's only one or two Kuatoa can actually speak common.
Are we suggesting that people of good alignment, or maybe not good alignment, since maybe we're talking back me, but non-chaotic alignment are recruiting evil associates? Well, I can think of some paladins who are going to have a real problem with that, and might take a heavy cavalry with them as they leave.
Very possibly. I mean, it depends on the makeup of the campaign, but what Halakar is suggesting, it's certainly, depending on your party, it's something could be possible, and it could make it interesting. But I would certainly, as a player, be very wary about the loyalties of the Kuatoa.
Right. Well, that's just one possible faction. I mean, there were pens full of slaves.
That's true.
That you could free and arm. There were all sorts of encounters along the way of things you met. I mean, I wouldn't want to be the one to volunteer and go up and try to be the liaison, but there were a bunch of mind flayers.
No, liaising with mind flayers. No, I didn't. No. Your dinner.
There was a really powerful lich with a whole bunch of undead. If you could lure him with the promise of all the magic and spell books and all that in a Drow city.
Oh, that's possible. That's possible. Might want a lich, not a demi lich. So
right.
Yeah. So I was thinking, yeah. Don't see why not. Brian, I don't believe there are mass combat rules in the One Ring. I've certainly not found any. I could have. Someone may have put some online, but I haven't actually read anything beyond the basic mechanics in the One Ring main book. So that's something I really need to start reading more of. I learned the basic mechanics, played a game using the intro set where I was a player, and that's as far as I've gone with the One Ring so far. And of course, having a little look at this new Moria thing that's coming out. Right. What about online representations of these big battles? It's all well and good.
I've played a few of the online ones, and usually, I mean, other than like Warcraft or Starcraft, where you can have a whole group of forces that you're moving. You're the lone hero wading through the combat scene in the ones I've played.
What I mean more though is the idea of running this sort of thing on something like a virtual tabletop.
Oh,
Is that even logistically possible?
if they could make a system that handled it, it'd be fun.
Yes. Does it exist? I know there's a board game tabletop simulator. Is that possible? I don't know. That's one of the things that is lingering in the back of my mind about the MERP campaign. I'll give you some basic background on that. I know Tabletop Simulator does war games all the time, so it could be used for this sort of thing. I might have to put it to the MERP players how they want to run a battle if it comes to it, but the premise of that campaign is at the moment the party, they've been moving around Cardalan, trying to work out who to ally with. It's set in the mid Third Age, as MERP tended to be, and at this time Cardalan is very much fractured. There are some Cardalani princes, some usurper Cardalani leaders who are not of royal extraction. By royal extraction, I mean of Dunedain heritage. And those Dunedain that do still exist in those sort of positions, not all of them are very trustworthy. They are somewhat dodgy, and the party are in the situation where they've allied with the one who they believe is the most trustworthy, but equally he's also the one with the fewest resources. He's got the smallest army. He hasn't got much more than a defensive militia, but he does have connections. So this is where the campaign's heading at the moment. I've been trying to use his connections, maybe get in touch with allies that he has in Arthedain. As yet, we don't know the sizes of the forces that they're going to be commanding or being involved with. They don't know the size of the force they're going to be up against. They do know that it's going to be largely troll-based, which is clearly going to be a worry for human-sized troops to go up against masses and masses of trolls. So, with all that in mind, I was trying to think of the logistics of how I would play out this battle. In the past, we have had a few large skirmishes where the battle has raged in the background, and I've just rolled a few dice to see how the battle goes to and fro. But in those, I've intentionally made the combatants very even. So nothing lurks in my head really about how the mechanics, whether it's fair, how the mechanics are playing out. This side gets a good roll, they do well. This side gets a bad roll, they have more fall. That means it sways the battle in one direction. That's how I've been doing it, with what the party's actions are happening on the side. So this battle's going to be bigger if it does happen. Almost certainly. We're not talking 20 or 30 people on each side. We're talking hundreds. And I'm looking for ideas as to how to run it. And if Tabletop Simulator would work, I don't know. I'd have to. I mean, Duralumin's here in chat, so he's one of the players in that game. We've got a way to go yet before we get to that. Hopefully, the campaign's going to go on for a while yet, because there's a lot more potential politicking going on. They're heading towards Tharbad, which, if you know what Tharbad's like in the mid Third Age, there's plenty of scope for adventure there. It's an absolute cesspit.
Well, it's in the name, isn't it?
Tharbad, yes. But it's Tharbad's the biggest city in Cardalan, and it's pretty much fallen to the various guilds fighting for their own control of the city. And they've got a guy who's been put in charge, who's a solid warrior, a solid leader, but is not a politician. and it's a time when they actually do need a capable politician, but he's not. He's just a man of battlefield intellect, but not boardroom intellect. So, oh, I've just seen this from Duralumin. I've never seen War Law. It's knowing what Rollmaster's like, that scares me. I'm starting to get the odd grey hair in my facial sprout, and I think that would cause me to go as grey as the rest of you.
I would say that I was a full ginger until I started learning against the Dark Master.
Yeah, and yeah, it's I think it's the Dark Master is modernized, isn't it? Really,
Still Rollmaster.
Still Rollmaster. It is. Yeah.
It's all right, John. I've got a grey hair in my beard, and I'm 29.
But you can grow a full beard in.
You're 29.
Yeah.
And you look like you're 17. It's disturbing.
Wow, really?
I
That
hate
young?
people. And you know what? Fuck stick. In about 10 years, you're going to be wishing people said that young. So shush and enjoy it while you got it. Trust me on that.
No. That's what I say to people. Like, people are like, "Oh, I'm sorry, but I have to ask you for your ID." I'm like, "Why are you sorry? I'm going to feel good for the rest of the day."
So it's turning into make Iman feel good stream.
It's always
No.
Iman's a good dude, and he deserves to feel good, John.
Oh, of course he does. Of course he does.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Of course he does. I mean, the only time for me, time that he should be made to feel bad is on a Tuesday playing Call of Cthulhu.
I knew you were every time. Every time he gets an opportunity, he's like poking fun at my PC.
Oh, hang on! I gave you some. You got some sanity back yesterday.
Some? I don't think one counts as some.
It does. One is some. He went back to it. He started off at 35. He dropped to 10, and I was kind yesterday. I let him go back to 11.
Iman, just wait. You'll get your revenge on the 16th.
Oh, is that so? I like the sound of that. Hey, don't worry. I'm creating a choose your own adventure book, and when John runs that on his channel, I'm going to make sure that he picks all the wrong choices.
Right. Okay. Is that it then? Okay. I won't be generous to you again on the call.
No, I'm John. You're the one who said it was be nice to him, and I didn't say it.
Okay.
There's that British Empire way.
Yes.
No, did any of you guys play Twilight 2000?
Of course.
I did not.
Okay. That had some good stuff in it in terms of an individual in a mass combat like that, because that did cover fighting prone or fighting in a foxhole and a lot of things like that. It had a hit location, and if you were prone, if you were hit and the hit was anything below the chest, then it actually missed you. So we at one point we tried implementing that, but we never tried it in mass combat. We did that if you were taking missile fire. You know, we had I think it was a 6-sided die that had like head, torso, right arm, left leg that you would roll to see where it was where the hit location was. And it didn't work very well for that. But there are some rules that you could probably carry over, especially if there is siege weapons or something along those lines, because you'd have hit locations on that particular piece of equipment and what it would do to it if it was hit. I mean, if it knocked a wheel off your catapult as opposed to severing something that was part of that gave it its thrust, whether it was rope driven or a big bow or whatever. So I think something like that could be implemented.
Yeah, I mean, one thing we haven't touched on yet, and I down to me, completely forgot about siege weaponry. AD&D had rules on the strength of walls, strength of ships, and siege weapons. I never saw them in an adventure. Or did I? I saw hull points mentioned for boats, but I never saw siege weapons properly implemented in an adventure.
Other than
Anyone
in traps, I one of the giants, might have been the hill giants, had a trap with a cross or a ballista that you could set off and catch a ballista bolt in the chest. But
again,
never,
it was done using normal AD&D mechanics. That wasn't
correct. It never in terms of using it for combat against a structure.
No.
Although a lot of spells would tell you, this does this many structure points of damage. Some of the Big B's fist type spells.
Of course, yes, of course, yeah. I never saw them incorporated in an adventure. But if anyone in chat knows of any adventures where they were incorporated, do let me know, because I don't. Hello, Slan, how you doing? Brian, I haven't looked yet to see if there's any Roll20 sheets that can be managed regarding mass combats. My issue is with the MERP one, how the mechanics would, to keep it feeling like MERP. I have considered using other mechanics, but I want it to feel like a MERP game still. So I'm toying with that in my head at the moment. But may well think about getting up on Tabletop Simulator and seeing what I can do with that. I've not played with it. I was thinking of using Tabletop Simulator as well for a game of Car Wars, which of course is another strategy game, not mass battles, but
that sounds like sci-fi, John.
Oh my gee.
It's most of the weapons are things like rockets and machine guns and exploding mines and things like that. So it's not.
And
Okay, there's no laser beams.
There are laser weapons, but then they're very expensive and hardly ever used.
Sci-fi, stop playing it.
Seriously, what's wrong with you?
Okay, total aside here. Did anybody see the videos of the Chilean Star Wars where they integrated the beer commercials right into the movie?
No, that sounds awesome.
Turkish Star Wars?
No, this just hit
Chilean.
YouTube like yesterday or today. When you get a chance, look up Chilean Star Wars beer commercials. They weren't allowed to actually do commercial breaks in the movie, so they made it look like it was part of the movie. Like when Ben goes to get the lightsaber to give it to Luke in the original Star Wars, he opens up a chest full of beer and pulls out a can of beer, and it goes into whatever.
I've not seen. It looks like Jane's seen them. Jane has seen them. Oh, Slan's popped in. Hello, Slan. How you doing? Yes, we've already mentioned the Gauntlet. The Gauntlet, great adventure. I need to anyone who's on the channel, in Discord. I really need to run the Sentinel and the Gauntlet for you at some point. So
you need to do that at a time where I can actually play, because I would love to go through those.
Well, we'll have to try and find it. But at the moment, I don't. As I said earlier on in the stream, I don't have a lot of time at the moment. With my work colleague having one of my work colleagues,
right?
So my weekends are now very, very snarled up. But it's the way it is. It's the way it is. A bit more money for my pocket. A few less hours sleep. But hey ho. Anything more on the topic at hand? Any questions from anybody in chat? Because I've flown through my points here. Didn't get to talk about Birthright because Saxious had to go, unfortunately. So I don't know anything about second edition battle system there. We've skimmed over some of the things like adding rules from other games. I think that was pretty much summed up by Joe's edition there. How he put together those rules, I think they would work pretty well for any role-playing game.
Yeah.
And I don't know if any of you, no one who in here at the moment has used Board Game Simulator, I don't think, to run mass battles. So I can't pick your brains on that.
Cody, you'd want to pick Cody's brain on that.
Is he the one? Is he the one who knows?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Excellent. Right.
I can't say this. Roll20 would grind to a halt if there were too many pieces.
Yes. Yeah. I've experienced that. As soon as you've got about more than 20 odd pieces on the board, it slows down anyway. And yes, if we got more than if we start going to mass battles, it would be horrendous.
It'd be absurd. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe Foundry VTT would do it well, though.
I don't know much about Foundry. I've played a game in Foundry, but I haven't never set it up. I've never set it up.
For kind of a cheap bypass of it, you could just, instead of having 20 individual counters, you could have unit counters and do a unit versus unit combat where technically it's just two big creatures fighting each other. I mean, if there's something that had to be in your game because of where the setting is, but you don't have time to do a whole deep dive into mass combat.
Yeah. Could I'll have to think about ways of implementing it. But yes, big unit counters. But I think certainly because I'm thinking of using it for MERP, and one of the appeals for me with MERP is the grittiness, the bone crunching nature of combat, and I don't want to hand wave that away. I want it to feel as bloody as it would be. So it's a balancing act. It's trying to balance those mechanics with making the combat flow.
Well, I'm just thinking what made me think about that is I was looking for a map of Middle Earth so I could try to find the places you're talking about because it's been so long since I did anything. And I found the map from my Sid Meier's pirate game on the computer. And if you do land combat on that, they break your crew up into different units. And when one unit fires on another, there's modifiers based on elevation, cover, and all that. But you do a % damage, and that's what % of the other unit is dead. So if you kill 25% of an enemy musket unit, when they do their attack, whatever their damage is, you take 25% off that because 25% of them are no longer there. And then it's just a simple hit point attrition until either they're all dead or one side loses, fails morale and runs away.
Well, yeah. Well, one way of doing it. I don't know. Oh, this is an idea. Duralumin, you're useful on tonight's stream. Good man.
Why are you not here in the panel? You've got so much to say.
Yes, he has, hasn't he? Yes. Divide and conquer. Right. My big worry is if I start downloading things like Total War, then that's what few minutes of my life I've got gone. Because I get obsessed.
Is he talking about Total War Rome and stuff like that?
I assume so.
Or is this something else?
M2 Total War. M2. What's M2 Total War? Any ideas? Assuming the TW is Total War. M2.
Oh, that's Medieval 2. All right. Yeah. Okay, yeah. It is the same thing that I'm thinking of then.
Right.
I've played Total War Rome too.
Give you an idea what spec my computer is at the moment. I am going to, as soon as Clericon's over, I'll be saving up for a bit of a beastie machine. But because my issue, my upgrade to a decent 4 gig NVIDIA card failed, the card wouldn't run, and the power supply didn't fit my motherboard that I got hold of to give it more grunt. I'm currently stuck with a 2 gigabyte video card, and it's a much older chipset on it, so it's a lot slower than that NVIDIA one would have been. That one was a beast with multiple fans on it, even though it had 4 gigabytes of video RAM. It was a lot more potent. 16 gig of RAM, and it's an i5 in here. So as long as that's good enough to run, then it'll be good. Halakar.
There you go. There's the first contribution to your new computer fund.
Well, to be honest, my extra hours at work are going to be contributing towards it as well. Any oh, okay, brilliant. If it was 2006, that's fine. That's fine.
Whoa, 10. Halakar,
10
you
indeed.
generous man.
Who got them?
Nerdy Ogre, You're
Nerdy
Wrong,
Ogre?
Steve Cavadas, Ironcaster, Anders Arisian, Obsidian Monolith, Tommy Bravo 4, Tyra 13, Adrian Walton, and Yu Takashi.
Well, Nerdy Ogre at least does pop into chat. So the other nine names I don't know, but
No, you do know You're Wrong. You're Wrong got one.
Oh, You're Wrong got one. I missed You're Wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. You're Wrong does pop in as well.
Excellent. Those were the only two I recognized.
So those two, there's two names that I recognize. Good. I like that.
I'm going to go grab my copy of Challenge of the Warlords right now and see, or Test of the Warlords, and see if there's anything else in there that might relate to that. I'll be right back.
Okay, no problem.
Cool.
So I am all for bringing in mechanics from other games as long as it still feels like a MERP game for that battle.
Yeah, it doesn't. It has to feel like it goes with it and not just tacked on, right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And of course, a lot will depend where it happens. If you know, are you familiar with the geography of Cardalan?
No,
you're not.
If you're asking me anything about D&D, the answer is probably no. If you're asking me,
this is Middle Earth. This is Tolkien. This is Middle Earth.
Oh, okay. No, only what I've seen in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit.
Cardalan is the southern part of Arnor, and I would describe it as being quite a lot like, most of it is quite a lot like the North Yorkshire Moors, in that it's quite barren, with pockets of civilized areas, but how civilized they are depends on pretty much where they are. But then you've got a massive river cutting through it, and which has got a lot of swamp around it, and Tharbad is right in the middle of that, slowly sinking into the swamp.
Okay.
Okay, Manfred. Yeah, ping them across. They'll give me ideas. That's the whole point. The whole point is to give me ideas. But Medieval 2 Total War does sound interesting. It's an excuse for me to put a game on my computer and play it, and maybe play it on a stream. Possibly.
You can do it for the Thursday stream.
I don't want to get into the habit of streaming every Thursday, though. That's the thing. Thursday really should be my preparation for whatever game I'm running at the weekend. So that's especially now I'm working Saturdays.
Fair.
So that's the routine I've got to get myself into. Getting my preparation done on a Thursday now, rather than relying on being able to do some on Saturday morning or something.
Well, Total War isn't exactly a game that you can play in a few hours. It drags. It's kind of like Civilization, if you ever played that.
Did I ever play Civilization?
Yeah.
Did I ever play Civilization?
How the fuck am I supposed to know?
Gen X has lost weeks, if not months, playing Civilization.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah, I lost an entire term at university playing Civilization.
My niece just got an assignment for, I don't know if it's social studies or history or something like that. They have to play Oregon Trail for part of a class. And I was like, you're going to die of dysentery. I'll just tell you right now.
Oh, that game! I know the game you're talking about. As soon as you said dysentery, I'm like, oh yeah, that game.
Okay, so it looks like they have their own. I'd have to dig out my companion rule books and look, but there's at the very end where you have the War of the Crown, they have a whole bunch of forces, and each one of them has a battle rating. So I'm assuming it had its own mass combat system in the companion system.
I know Beckme did have some sort of mass combat system, but I never went past expert. I had the basic rules, I had the expert rules, but I didn't have the companion masters immortals.
I have them, but at some point I tried to save room. I put them all in one box and threw the other boxes away because I was an idiot. So yeah, I've got them all stuffed in my blue box, all the books from BECMI.
Oh, right. Oh. War Machine.
Okay.
There we go. War Machine. Any good? Anyone in chat know anything about it? Was it any good? I don't know.
I don't remember. It's been so long.
No.
I also forgot they have some cool artwork in here too. This was the Frost Giant attack.
That's nice. That looks like Eastleigh.
Got to put my glasses back on.
Looks like Eastleigh to me. That quick
Yes.
flash.
Yes.
Oh, what a nerd. What a nerd. Oh, it was a pure number crunching simulator, no tactical stuff. Oh, well. Oh, well. Yeah.
So yeah, the way this module was set up, at the beginning, there's the land grab, which is all part of the royal wedding. You that's why you get invited there. And then there's some set encounters and some that you can go on if you want. There's 5 different expedition encounters you can have. And then you get to the War of the Crown, which is the big combat at the end, and then it has a section on where to go from there. How do you implement this into an ongoing campaign, et cetera, et cetera.
So do those encounters along the way have any real impact on the War of the Crown at the end in terms of building up forces and supplies and stuff?
You can get more magic items and money and stuff like that to hire additional forces.
All right, okay.
Yeah, that whole section is called expanding the campaign, so you can use them or not. It's
in the MERP game, based on various successes around the party, have so far gathered some allies. They've got a group of about 24 Dunlendings, a ragtag bunch of Highlanders. That's what the Dunlendings are. They helped out a group of Woses, so some Woses have promised themselves to be there at the battle, and they had some troops from Minas Girithilin, but those troops have since returned to Minas Girithilin because of issues down there. The party were given the task of assassinating a rival Cardellani prince by the Lord of Minas Girithilin, and they didn't carry it out. So they chose not to. They chose not to trust that Lord, and so that's Well, those actions have consequences, type things. But there would have been other consequences and what have you. So let's see whether they've made the right choice or not. Let's see whether they made the right choice. Anyway, I'm pretty much to the end of at the end of this topic. Unless anyone else has anything to say. So
plastics. Always invest in plastics.
Are they the future still?
They are always the future until we find something else.
Isn't there's a quote in one of the Civilization game about plastics?
Yes.
Is that what you just quoted?
No.
It's something similar to that, though.
I have no idea. Just it's a line that pops up a lot in a lot of different movies and stuff.
I think it's in Civ.
Yes, Manfred. There were aardvarks.
It's in Civ 4 or Civ 5, where there's a little cutscene where they're talking about plastics, and there is a voice that cuts in as if it's a famous quote by somebody. I don't know.
The best part about the Civilization games is the earlier ones that had Leonard Nimoy doing all of the readings of stuff, which were great and classy, to then go to Sean Bean doing the readings of them with that lovely northern accent of his.
That sounds great to me.
No.
It sounds great. It may well have been Leonard Nimoy who was reading.
No, Leonard Nimoy was on Civ 3 or 4.
Right. I think Civ 3. I can't remember whether I played which of Civ 3 or 4 I played. I played a lot of Civ 1 and a lot of Civ 2.
Civ 2 was my
I've only played Civ 3 and Civ 4.
I've played it up to Civ 6. It just keeps getting better and better.
Does anyone play Tropico?
No.
It's basically Civ, but like in Cuba.
Cool. Oh.
Manfred
The
wanted
main character is literally like a Fidel Castro ripoff.
I like the graphics in Civ 1 when you made Gandhi angry. Gandhi went
Man,
from
yeah,
smiling
that's one thing I was going to say about Civ is somehow Gandhi is like the most adamant on starting nuclear war out of everyone.
Yeah, it was a glitch in Civ, and then it became such a trope they just put it in every other version after on purpose.
Yeah, so they made his aggression 0 or something, which rounded it back round to 255 or something, right?
Something. It was a glitch. It was an error.
Yeah.
I liked when you'd get the Council of Elders or whatever they were in Civ 2 and they would start arguing with each other. Whenever I played that, they
Is that
just
Civ 2 or is that Civ 3 where you had the videos of the people?
I never played 3, but I know they had them in 2 because
good.
they'd always jump on the hippie chick. She's like, well, we need to spend more money on social programs, and everybody else would just dogpile her. There was the one guy who always had the big goblet of wine he was drinking. He was pro-war, everything. So if you went on just a total massacre game, at one point he's so drunk, he's like, just carry on, just carry on.
Things are great, my lord. Keep going.
Hello,
I think
mate.
you're right.
How are you doing? Who won the?
I think you're right there.
We didn't have a mass battle. We just discussed sort of adaptations of rules and modules that featured them and how they the rules sort of came into D&D and that sort of thing, and generally how people handled mass battles without using mass battle rules. So, but we've hammered it. We've decided to wobble on now. I've decided to wobble on now. Unless you've got something to add, Mage, you're more than welcome to ping a question or dive in or whatever you want to do. Cheers, Manfred. Yeah, the advisors were fun in Civ, but yeah, I think Civ 2 is a better game than Civ 1, but I put more time into Civ 1. Put a lot of time into Civ 1. We used to play in my old university house. We used to take it in turns to have races to see how fast we could finish on the hardest level on the world map. And it was possible to get no, it wasn't a mass battle. It was a discussion of mass battles. Yeah, clickbaity. But some people managed to get armor by 1500 BC and start unloading tanks into Africa by about 500 BC, mass on transports and things like that. It was perfectly possible in Civ 1. If you started off as the Americans, didn't have the Aztecs start, if the yellows started as the Egyptians instead of the Aztecs, which meant if you got the greens starting as the Zulus, they were penned in by the Egyptians. That was important. If you started as the only ones in America, you just flood the continent with settlers as fast as you possibly can, become a democracy, churn out science as fast as you could, and then switch to communism as soon as you could get it, and then and then just churn out tanks and invade the world, and you could finish by about 1 AD. That's on the hardest level.
Did you get the expansion for Civ 2 that was the fantastic whatevers, where you could play the dinosaurs and caveman? They had another one that was a fantasy one, and it was all the same thing, just with different skins. So like, your most powerful spell was basically the nuclear weapon, and same thing. Tyrannosaurus was your nuke.
That sounds like fun. I think I would enjoy that. Yeah. Civ. Put more time into Civ 1 because it took 45 minutes to load up. I had a 386 SX25, and it played okay on that. Mage says he uses the 2E combat and tactics quick rules for mass combat. I don't know them. I didn't get those black books.
That's one of the ones I don't have.
I
was looking to get a copy of Ships in the Sea, and those things are going for, the ones I've seen have been $175 and more. At the end, no.
I turned my nose up at paying £30 for one of those about 4 years ago. I wish I had. That's of Ships in the Sea. Yeah.
I've got a digital copy from a less than reputable source, but I'd like to have a real one.
Yes. No, I didn't play Alpha Centauri. No. Didn't play that. No. I was a Civ player. Very much. And Age of Empires, Age of Mythology, games like that as well. Loved Age of Empires. Still do. Where was I gonna? I go off on tangents, and my brain just sort of, I get these little ideas flick into my head, but if I don't suddenly go on to the idea, it just disappears into the ether and it's already gone. Oh yes, our little story about Civ. When I first discovered Civ, it was November, it was autumn 91, I believe, Civ 1. And somebody put it on some of the computers in the computer lab at Leeds University. And we had this sort of, as part of our degree, we were being taught to use these computers because they were fairly new at the time, all this sort of software on there, and not everyone had access to a computer. I'd got my PC at home, but hadn't got much in the way of Office-y sort of software on there yet. And Civ got put on the machines in there, and there was this one big bloke who used to sit at the back, make it look like he was working all the time. He just lived in that computer block, and he was playing Civ all the time throughout all the lectures, whatever was going on. He was constantly playing Civ. And one of the guys who was in my group of friends was doing computers for his degree. And I didn't know much about file editing or anything like that then. And he was there going, "Oh, look, do you know that Civ introduction, all those introductory messages you get at the start, when the world is dull and void and all that sort of thing, and first vestiges of life appear and all that sort of stuff at the start of a game when Civ 1 was building the world." Do you remember that intro? At the start of Civ 1, you've got this animation as the world is slowly developing, and text at the bottom tells you what's happening. First life appeared and all that sort of stuff. This guy realized that was a text file, so he got onto that computer and edited the text file, the introduction, and we made sure we were in that computer lab the next time the big Civ nerd was in there. And we were the group of grinning buffoons at one corner of the lab, waiting to see the look on his face when he was greeted with the lines, "Get off your fat lazy ass, you fat Greek bastard," because he was Greek. Do some work. We're watching you. It was all that sort of stuff, and he was just there going, "What?" It was very funny, very, very funny. Yeah.
Our computers, when I was in college, were all part of a mainframe system. So we just had dumb terminals, with a keyboard and a screen, and it was all part of the mainframe. Well, we had an IBM display computer. I don't know why they brought it there. I guess they thought college students are going to want to buy nice computers when they get out of college, which, a nice computer back then was a 286. And they loaded that thing so full of games. No one ever used it for anything other than, let's see, we had Scorched Earth, Wing Commander, Mech Warrior 1 or Mech Commander, whatever it was, all the ones that came out in 92 and 93. Just loaded that thing with all sorts of time wasters. There was always a lineup to get to that one computer.
We used to use the Apple IIs in high school in the computer lab to make character sheets. Why not?
Yeah.
That's a productive way of learning how to use a word processor, isn't it?
Yep.
Since somebody stole all our Commodores over the summer before I took basic programming in high school, when it got time to do our final project, I brought my Commodore 128 from home into school because I had a 1,000-some line program for making NPCs, because, you know, every good nerd wrote a program for making NPCs back in the day. And
if
yeah,
if you could program, that is. I was shit at programming.
Yeah, apparently I was a bad nerd.
They even had in one of the Dragon magazines in the 70s, not the years of the 70s, but like 71 to 79, in that 10 issue stretch, there was a program in there for doing it. And I looked at that, I typed it in my computer, and there were a whole bunch of errors because, you know, whoever had put it into the typeface, you know, it doesn't take too many typos to screw up your program. So I tried that and it didn't work. I was like, that's it, I'm going to make my own. So that was my senior project, was this big program. You type in what race, what class, and what level you wanted your NPC to be, and it would spit out something at the end with stats that were in the right ranges and appropriate magic items and the whole bit.
See, the limit of my programming ability was to be able to generate 6 scores of 3d6. That was about it. I could do that. That was it. As soon as it got any more complicated than that, no. That was me gone. I do have a very basic qualification in C from about 1992, 93, but I've never used it.
That's what the MUDs I played were coded in, was a variation of C, because when I became a wizard on a Wandering MUD, I had to learn some absolute basics of it to be able to build my domain on that MUD. So I guess I did a little bit with that, but not a lot.
I mean, I played MUDs and I got to God status on one of them, and I got told I could make my own domain and stuff. And I looked into it and I was like, no, this is far too complicated. So I didn't bother.
Yeah, I had started to put in my character's name was Thurisdan, so I started coding in the Temple of Thurisdan as part of my domain. You know, that was going to be like the big end thing, but I had a bunch of smaller stuff on the way. There was the Hall of Heroes, which was set up like a museum, and each one was a different display keyed to a different level, because there were 20 levels in that game. So one of the levels was based on the comic strip Hagar the Horrible. So if you walked into that painting or whatever it was, that fresco on the wall, you popped out in a little comic Viking world. And I had one. What else did I have? I had Snarf Quest, that ends the Elmore comic strip that was in Dragon magazine when it got into the hundreds ish. All different types of Thomas Covenant and the White Gold Wielder, whatever that book series was that just drug on forever and ever. I did one on that. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that, but then when I graduated, they closed my account, wouldn't let me play anymore. It's because I didn't have a computer of my own.
No.
So I don't even know whatever happened to it. That MUD was based out of Purdue University, and at one point when I got a real computer, I looked for it, and I don't think it exists anymore.
That's a shame. That's a shame. I don't remember the name of the MUDs that I played on. They were DQ MUDs. Ring a bell?
Yeah, I played LPs, but yeah, I know the DQs.
Yeah.
The last one I was in was Genesis, which was at Chalmers University in Sweden, I want to say. And I got to the point where I applied to be a wizard on that, and I started coding an area but there was so much stuff you had to do. It had its own internal map, and it was just a pain in the butt connecting your rooms to that map, because I had started doing the city of Flan from Forgotten Realms, or Flan, however you want to pronounce it. And I had the immediate city done, and I had started to do the well area. There was Podol's Well, and then there was Koval Keep, and all that. It was basically I was putting in what was in the old Gold Box SSI game, but I got kind of bored with it and just quit after a while.
I always found Flan to be a funny name. I don't know if you have them over there in America, but over here, a flan is a savory, usually cheese-based pie.
Yeah.
For us, it's a Mexican caramel custard type dish.
Yeah. We have a flan, but it's not the same as yours.
Yeah, it's like an egg. Usually, so it's also egg, custard, cheese, often onion, savory. So whenever flan, I think of cheese tarts.
The one thing with Genesis Mud is each domain could be whatever it wanted to be. So there was a huge Dragonlance area, huge Middle Earth area. There were a couple that were just totally out of the creator's own thought process, because my character gravitated towards the Middle Earth type one. So there were some of the guilds, like I was a ranger of Athelion for a while, and then I got into a big fight with the captain of the Rangers, so she kicked me out. So then I eventually became an apprentice to the Society of Morgul Mages and worked my way up to a Ringwraith. But in order to progress in levels and all that, it was all role play. So they would actually have tests. So I mean, I had to go back and reread the Silmarillion and the book Lost Tales and all those, just so that I could pass the tests to gain rank in my guild. So for a while there, but I knew my Middle Earth forwards and backwards.
Yep. I'd enjoy playing in a mud, in a Middle Earth themed mud type game. I think that would be fun. Bear has had to depart, so we're down to 3, and we are at the point of the stream. We've got 40 minutes of the stream left. If there's anybody in chat who fancies just popping in just to say hello, you're more than welcome. This is the bit where we talk nonsense. We've covered the topic. I didn't think the topic would take more than an hour and a half, 2 hours anyway. But there is a link there. If I know your name, you can come in. If anyone wants to come in and join us, you're more than welcome to do so. That includes you, Nutty. You can come in. You've been on the stream before. But no nonsense. Yeah.
We've got a couple regulars that I haven't seen in the chat tonight.
Like who?
Daniel and Straw Piglet and Kabuki.
No. No sign of Daniel. If he's is he takes his son to
his airgun shooting.
Airgun shooting, yeah, on a Wednesday now. So that's probably taken that. But I didn't get the stream posted up very early tonight, so people might not have noticed it happening. I know that's why Bear was late in, probably due to that. But we do have a Slan. It claims to be grumpy, but isn't.
Hey, Slan.
Hey, how's it going?
You're right.
Good,
so,
how about you?
Mass battles, Slan.
Yeah.
There again, I've mugged you. I've brought us back onto topic, especially for you.
Oh.
If you don't want to talk about mass battles, you don't have to.
I don't have much to say, really. I try to avoid running them. I think what I ran last Saturday, which was about 24 villagers. The party was 5 or 6 people, and there were 14 bandits total, something like that. That's as big as I've ever run. And I tend to quickly, what I'll tend to do is say, the villagers storm in and they're fighting the bandits. And then I'll roll 2 dice and say, so many bandits died, so many villagers died. I find it's really...
Simplify it.
Yeah, I simplify, just make it quick. And and I'll adjust what I roll dice wise based on the relative strengths of the two opponents. So the bandits were 0 level for the most part. So the villagers also.
I missed that encounter because it happened. I locked up my shop at about 20 to 6.
Yeah.
Phoned my wife to find out. She normally goes to the takeaway on a Saturday. To find out that she was planning to go to multiple takeaways because the kids were being awkward, and I got sent to one of the takeaways.
Okay.
So rather than heading straight home, I had to go to one of the takeaways, get the food, bring it back home. When I got home, my kebab was waiting for me, so I ate that before I rejoined it. It was all over by then.
Yeah.
It was all over.
Yeah, exactly. And what I'll do is, let's say you have 20 0 level villagers fighting 10 level 1 and 2 bandits. Then I'll say, okay, most likely there'll be more bandits, fewer bandits killed than villagers killed. So I'll roll a d12 for the villagers and a d6 for the bandits. Or I sort of play it by ear based on my feel for what's happening. And that's how I do it. Just, I want to get it over quickly because I find if it drags on too long, it just kills the momentum of the session. So
yeah, absolutely.
Unless they're there for the war game, right?
Yeah, unless they're there for the war game. Yeah, I think I mentioned it in a comment. Daniel from Bandits Keep does this D&D chainmail hybrid.
I saw that.
And he ran a game at Clericon where we started off in your typical, like, go into the dungeon, retrieve these artifacts that will help you with this battle that's coming up. That was part 1. And then part 2 was, here's the battle. He rolled out the battle map. Ooh, lovely.
It arrived today.
That was quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get a fast track one?
No. Do you want to see the picture?
Uh-oh. Yeah, go on then.
Uh-huh.
Oh, heck.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
That's the face you see before you fucking die.
That's the picture they accepted. They didn't accept the first one I sent in.
Well, your accommodations all were arranged, so you're good to go. You just got to get on that plane.
Yeah. And as I need an electronic travel permit or something to come to Canada. I don't need a visa, which I will organise closer to the time. And looking at flight prices, and they've gone up at least 20% from what I looked at last year.
Yeah. What you want to do is check every 3-4 days, and usually sometimes like 14 to 8 weeks before. It's hard to predict exactly when. There'll be a drop, and just be happy with good enough rather than try to get the absolute best.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I can see something for about 400. That's my target price. Cheapest I found at the moment is about 480. But one of the flights is 22 hours because it has 2 stops in Germany.
Oh,
it goes to Germany.
Yeah.
Then you switch to Lufthansa to go over to.
Is it really worth the $50?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I might fly Aer Lingus and go via Dublin. Never been to Ireland. I wouldn't mind a little bit of a stop there.
Con Aer Lingus.
That's what I thought too.
But we shall see. But Aer Lingus was about 550 quid.
Yeah.
I'm assuming there are plenty of accommodations and stuff like lodging and all that in the area.
That's all sorted.
It's all sorted. He's going to crash with me, and then we're staying at my aunt's during the event because she lives 15 minutes away. So.
Oh, I'm thinking for me.
You're coming. Awesome.
Oh, awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah, check with Father Aaron. He can tell you about.
He had links to different hotels and places last year, so I assume he'll have the same. I don't know if the site is up yet. Actually, I don't think so. Let me quickly look.
Yeah, I've got my vacation time approved and savings to go. So unless gas does something really crazy between now and then.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I'm down to one colleague at work now, she was panicking when I was giving. I gave her the dates today, and she was like, "Oh, that means I'm going to be working about 10 days straight." Yes, yeah.
So hire somebody for then. Not a temp or
we
anything?
can try. We can try.
Well, you got time.
We have got time. Yes, yeah. But we're very particular in the shop in that we've always hired. There's always been a bit of nepotism involved. We've always hired regular customers, or because there's a lot of trust. You're in the shop by yourself a lot of the time. It's not multiple people in the shop a lot of the time. It's one person. So you've got to have a real good degree of trust with that person.
Hey, if I lived in Birmingham, I'd offer.
You don't know, do you, lad?
I don't know.
You've also got to be happy to have 5 hours one week, 20 hours the next, 15 the one after that, then maybe 40 the week after that. It's not
sounds about right. Just keep me on my toes.
It's not consistent hours, unfortunately. So anyhow, we'll
shop was looking for a part-time tour guide there. Man, if I was retired, oh yeah, you better believe I'd have been all over that job.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's up for sale. I thought I saw they had posted it for sale, just kind of putting feelers out to see if anybody wanted to buy the whole thing, lock, stock, and barrel.
Bloody hell.
So slightly back on topic, I'm going to pull a Saxious here. You're mentioning you didn't know the combat and tactics mass combat rules.
I don't know.
They're pretty well done. It's meant to be simple. It's not meant to be a full nuanced war game. But the idea is you just basically put all the squads, relatively similar squads, into units, and it's all hit dice based. So let's say you have a unit of 12 orcs, right? And then they're fighting a unit of 12 dwarves. So what you've got is each has one hit die. So they would you would roll the attacks. All attacks are rolled, and the round is completed. And then if the 12 orcs hit the 12 goblins or the dwarves and vice versa, you would subtract one hit die per successful unit attack. So 12 on 12, if they both succeeded in the hits, would kill each other, right? But like if you have two squads of dwarves against 6 dwarves, whereas one squad of 12 orcs, and one squad of the 6 dwarves hit, you would kill 12 of the orcs, or 6 of the orcs. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
you count, and if there's multiple hit dice, like say there were ogres, you would count down from the total number of hit dice. So let's say 10 ogres is 40 hit dice, and you got 12 dwarves. And the hit was successful. You'd subtract 12, so you're left with 28 hit dice of ogres, right? And then, of course, you subtract however many ogres that adds up to. So 12 ogres would be three ogres. So you now that squad has now got 7 ogres. And so you go from there. So it's very quick, but it's good enough for a mass combat that you want to resolve fairly quickly.
Cool. I mean, I think
multiple attacks apply still as well. So,
I mean, the key is with any mass combat is you've got to allow for tactics to be employed, but equally it's got to be smooth. It's got to be quick.
Yeah, Duralumin, it's in the Combat and Tactics Second Ed Players Options book. Hold on a sec.
Those infernal black books that we like to laugh at. With their horrible presentation and the awful artwork.
The visual presentation is not great, but the layout is good. And this book, if you bought nothing else, is really good because it just changes combat into something smooth. I'm just looking for the page reference. Blah 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 blah. It's in here somewhere. Talk amongst yourself while I try to find this.
That's quite all right. I'm clicking on the wave thing at the moment in Discord to wave to Joe the lawyer for joining the Discord. So there you go. That's what I'm doing. I'm getting
I shall
distracted.
do the same.
Yeah. Googling does not yield a website yet for Clericon for 2024.
I
I
don't
had a
think you
look on
posted
Monday.
anything yet.
I had
I
a look
don't
on
think so.
Monday. I had
Yeah.
a look on Monday. Didn't see anything.
But Halakar. Once last year he had like some nearby hotels listed. So
Which reminds me, I do need to get the troops roused for, not aroused, just roused for UK Games Expo this year, because the tickets are on sale for that, and some of the events have been posted. So
what are the
Oh
dates?
shit!
yeah,
Page 175. If anybody's got the book and is curious.
Tickets are live now, yeah.
tickets are live for the UK Games Expo. I'll be going on the Friday and the Saturday.
And how quickly do they sell out?
They don't for the main thing, but if you want to attend any of the special events, they do.
Special events such as
There's all sorts going on, all sorts, demonstrations, live plays, tables you can join to learn games, that sort of thing.
okay.
But I think we're planning to have it more as a social, where we wander around browsing the stalls, having a few popping into the Weatherspoons for a pint or two, getting some food, generally
Buying
just
overpriced hot dogs.
buying overpriced hot dogs, all that sort of stuff. And then, but we're also probably going to invade the free gaming room, grab a table, and play something amongst ourselves.
Fair. Sounds good.
As well as doing a little bit of shopping while we're there. But that's the general plan. But myself and Gingerbeard went last year.
Well, I'm hoping to be employed by next month, so fingers crossed I'll have enough money saved up to at least have a decent time when I go.
Yeah.
The loot table in Sean's last video, it's like, I'm all over that.
Yeah.
If there are enough competitors, I'll do the Onion Eating contest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Last time it was just Slan and Dungeon
Yeah.
Minister's son.
Yeah.
Depends on the state of my bowels whether I do it.
It depends on the state of the prizing. I mean, he was offering a Mentos as a prize, so it's like, yeah, not exactly an incentive.
Well, for me, it was more. I felt it would be very disappointing for the kid to not have anyone to compete against. And,
I take it that's his party trick, that he can eat onions.
Oh no, he barely got through it.
He barely got through it. I mean, tears were flowing out of his eyes like waterfalls. The kid, he was a real trooper, though. He just did not stop. So what it is that one of the characters in the Dungeon Minister's games, I forget which one now. Whenever they see supplies, one of the things that the Dungeon Minister mentions is like barrels of onions, and this character would always eat some and grab some for later and whatever.
Right.
So they decided to have the onion eating contest at Clericon for that.
Oh my word.
So basically, you grab an onion and you eat it like an apple.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. And he didn't exactly buy it. He didn't exactly buy mild onions either.
That was my question. What kind of onions are they?
Just they were regular white onions, but
I mean,
if
they
big
were
ones or just small
Vidalias or
ones?
something like
no,
that.
not the big ones. They're about the size of an apple, maybe a bit smaller.
Doesn't sound too bad.
No, but they were pretty strong.
Oh, right, okay. I mean, I have eaten a whole raw onion before.
Yeah. No, it wasn't a nice Spanish onion or one of those lovely mild ones. That would have been fine, but this was hard. And after a while, I just decided, when I saw the kid wasn't going to stop, he could truly say he was a real trooper, and I let him win.
Do you get to cut it at all? Do you have to?
No, you bite into it. There's the only thing you have is I think it was a plastic cup, so if you weren't finished with it, you could just put it there rather than make a mess on the table. But other than that, there was no cutlery as such. They did prep the onions, and that the peel was off. They were peeled.
Okay,
but that's it.
Yeah.
I will preface now the time I ate an entire raw onion, I wasn't entirely of straight mind.
Uh-huh.
How much did you have?
No, it's what I had.
Oh,
Remember that time your supplies ran unexpectedly low?
It was 1993. It was my
Oh,
summer
okay.
of love after I graduated.
Oh, okay.
One of the guys in my house had very interesting contents of the fridge, which we were allowed to occasionally help ourselves to. And I did.
What did you think it was, an apple?
No, I'm not. No, there wasn't food in the fridge.
The beverage.
Yeah.
There wasn't beverages either.
No.
It was other things.
Uh-huh. So you had an interesting case of the munchies, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought it was
decided it would be a
okay.
good idea to try and consume an entire onion, and I managed it. But I won't say if it was assistance. But nowadays, my guts are a little more fragile, and I'm starting to reject a lot of things like that. So we'll have to see how it goes.
I had a friend bring back a bottle of green chartreuse when he went to visit Europe, and he gave that to me as a gift. That was something different. I'd never had wine that wasn't made out of some type of vegetable or fruit.
I've heard of chartreuse. What's it made of?
It's an herbal wine, and it's like 110 proof. The green is, the yellow is lower proof.
Oh, so it's brutal.
Yeah, it mixed really well with lemon lime slice on your way to an 8 a.m. class that you didn't want to be at. But in the soft drink can, nobody knew.
It sounds like bleach would be more healthy.
It actually didn't taste bad. It's just it was strong. I mean, I could see now using it cooking with different things.
Nutty. No, I wish it was brownies that I'd had that day. But to tell you what I'd had that day, think the Beatles, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
Oh, so I was right. Okay.
Yeah.
That must have been some mad looking on you.
I never had any visual impact from it, from that.
Oh, really? Oh, that's part of the fun.
I will say now, I believe, I know we're completely off topic talking about this sort of thing, but hey ho, I believe some of the visual effects you get from that are things that I get anyway.
Are you saying you're perpetually stoned?
Do you know, I think they're called phosphenes. You know what phosphenes are?
Vaguely.
When you close your eyes, patterns behind visual effects behind your eyelids.
Okay.
When I close my eyes, the world is not dark. The world is not black.
Oh, I have that too, to a degree at least. I see like flashes of white. It's really weird.
I see all sorts of things. Well, I'm glad if it's just flashes of light. So this is why I sometimes struggle.
Yeah, when I'm in total darkness, from the edges of my vision, I see like flashes of light. It's really weird.
Yeah. I see things moving across, and my mind creates images and sort of creates sort of visualizations.
Like fills in the blanks.
Fills in the blanks, yeah, and it does that anyway.
Yeah,
so,
pareidolia.
Is that what it is?
Pareidolia is this where you see things in randomness. So you see faces, or you see, oh, this cloud looks like a rabbit or whatever.
Oh, right,
that's pareidolia at work, and we evolved with it because if you're in the woods and you think you saw a predator and you run away and there was no predator, there's no harm. But if there was one and you ran away, you're safe and you survived. So, humans,
it's a survival thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Primates who had a tendency to see patterns very well, sometimes when there is nothing, would tend to survive.
Yeah, more. Like seeing faces and branches of trees and stuff.
Exactly.
Seraphis says this: it flashes of twinkles and color patterns like colors swirling in black. That's what a lot of it is. Yeah.
Interesting. I don't see color.
I did because of things I've been diagnosed with. I did do a bit of research to see if it was associated with ADHD and Asperger's and things like that. I don't think it is, but
no.
Yeah, if I can control how the patterns move and form as well. Yeah.
Is it based on where your eyes are looking or how your eyes are moving while they're closed?
Possibly. I don't know.
So, like, if your eyes move more rapidly, you see more things, for example.
No, I don't know. But sometimes to get to sleep, I have to control. I have to control the images and form the images in my mind to get my brain to drift off to allow me to get to sleep.
Okay.
I just assumed it was normal. I just assumed it was normal.
Psychedelics can induce that state as well.
Yeah. I heard. Yeah, I know. Yeah. They didn't with me. They just made me feel really weird.
Well, the visual component is also when you close your eyes too. It's not just when your eyes are open. Yeah.
But that felt no different. When I closed my eyes, it felt no different.
Really?
Because that's what I see anyway.
If I've taken something like that and I close my eyes, I see some mad shit. Like colourful. Like things aren't colourful for me normally when I close my eyes.
Well, things are with me. Back on topic, General Nut says he thinks it would be great to have mass combat that the DM doesn't know the result. Absolutely.
That's true of any RPG. I'd like to have an RPG where the DM doesn't know the results.
Yeah.
Seraphis, I believe it's called Phosphenes.
Yes, yeah, it is, yeah.
I think it's spelt
PH, I believe.
Yeah.
PHOSPHENES.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there's differing degrees of it.
Yeah, so I think I have less than you.
I've got all of them to different degrees at different times.
Do you have astigmatism? Like you see like trails on lights and stuff?
Yeah, I've always seen trails on lights.
Yeah, me too.
That can actually be a long-term side effect of hallucinogen use too.
Yes,
I've always seen trails on lights.
Seeing trails and halos on light sources.
Yeah. John's born tripping.
Movement at the edge of the peripheral vision. That and HPPD, I think, are the two.
That's correct. Yeah.
Big long-term possible effects.
See, I think I always had it as well, but the hallucinogen use exacerbated it.
General Nut, it depends on the system. Certainly when I was running in 5e, there was definitely the possibility for the battle to be lost. I was using the 5e battle rules, but I was adjusting the probabilities based on how well the party were doing. So that they still could have lost, even if they'd taken out the leaders. But it was just not nowhere near as likely, because it gave them more time effectively.
Yeah, but he's right in general. Most DMs will say, "Oh, cool, the battle's going to go this way, but let's see what happens to the players." Right? Even if if the players' dice fall where they will, the overall battle will be whatever story he wants to tell.
Yeah. I don't do that. Let it fall as it falls.
Mm-hmm. And to do so, you need to scope out the battle map and figure it out.
You could have simple mechanics in place based on what they do. Yeah. You could have, as Slan does, you could just basic head-to-head rolls, but have modifiers based on what's happening to those rolls. You keep a little bit of randomness in there. You still don't know exactly how it's going to go.
Yeah.
And then if the PCs survive, they have to deal with whatever the outcome is, whether it's success or failure. Yeah.
You want them to be brown coats, not?
Yeah. Well, part of what happens too is
he's trying to reference Firefly so that we can convince John to watch it when he's in Canada.
Yeah. What I was going to say is part of the thing is how big a proportion of the battle are the PCs doing. So like the mass combat I did last Saturday, we had a total of, I said 14 bandits, let's say 32 for a round number, participants plus the party. So they're easily like 1 in 6 participants in the battle. So they're a big chunk of the battle itself. Whereas if a party of 5 or 6 is part of a battle that involves units of 100 or more, then they're a very small part of what's happening.
I think it's difficult to get that balance right, because in a game session you want the PCs to feel as though they have some sort of control, some sort of deciding factor over what's happening.
Well, what I would try to do
degree.
but what I would do is, if the PCs insist on hacking away at the cannon fodder, then they're not going to have a huge impact, unless they really kill a lot of them. But if they say, oh no, we're going to hide here, we're going to use invisibility and sneak over there or whatever, right? Yeah. And we're going to get to the leaders in the back and kill them. And upon killing them, you might demoralize the troops. You got to roll for that. You don't know ahead, and certainly they won't have any orders given to them. So their sense, those units' tactics will just, evaporate. They'll keep fighting, but if something happens elsewhere in the field, they're not going to react to it, because there's not going to be any signal for them to change what they're doing.
And of course, their morale.
And that could have a big, the morale. And that could have a big impact on the battle.
Capture a banner, for example, will affect a morale. Taking out a charismatic leader will affect morale.
Or even the appearance of, because if there are flagmen or trumpets to signal in the battle, and a party takes those out, the troops may think the leaders are gone.
Absolutely.
Even if they're not, and that could cause a rout too. So the thing is that I would actually, the effect on the battle the PCs have will depend on how smart they play it.
Which medieval battle was it where the one set of troops were on the brink of fleeing because they thought their king was dead, and he's said to have lifted his visor to prove that he was alive, and he rallied the troops. They went on to win.
I don't know offhand.
I know one of the movie I saw where the king was basically dead, and he said, just prop me up on the saddle so that it looks like I'm alive and send me out to fight. It might have been Lion in Winter. I don't remember for sure, but
Lion in Winter didn't have battle scenes, so it was just purely drama.
Was okay. Well, it was It was one of the ones in the time of the Crusades that the battle was.
Was it Hastings, William the Conqueror? So I know the Saxons were winning early. In the early
no, that was where they retreated up the hill and then attacked, and then did that a few times
and drew them down. But didn't a rumor go around that William had fallen and then he proved he was alive? Or am I thinking of a different king? I don't know. I have a feeling it was.
The Normans. Sorry, I just found a website on the Battle of Hastings. Eventually, the English shield was pushed forwards. This forced the Normans back down the hill, and a rumor began to spread that William had been killed. But the story goes that William lifted up his helmet and called out that he was alive, and with God's help would win. So there you go. Battle of Hastings.
Oh, didn't teach them.
Told you I was a nerd when it came to this sort of thing. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like one of the more interesting parts.
Depending on how deep you want to go into the mass combat, though, I mean, if it's something you really want to spend the time doing, then you've got, of course, logistics, but communication is huge. If you've got a big army and you can't get orders from the leader to the troops, it's going to have a big effect. Or where the leadership is. If you have centralized leadership at the rear, or if the small unit commanders are given leadership capability or decision making. I know when I was in the service, that was when we were still Russia was still the biggest enemy. Hey, just like it is again. But anyways, the first time around.
Hold on, Halakar. Hold on, Halakar. General Nut. Keep going, Halakar.
Okay, but we had for armored for tanks and stuff like that. There were set battle plans that the Soviets would use. If you see them lined up like this tank is going to be the communication vehicle. This one's going to be the command vehicle, and they're going to be in the same spot every time because that's how they run their combat. So you knew, okay, if you see this formation, you concentrate fire here, you concentrate fire here, and the rest of them are going to fall apart because they'll have no leadership and no communication.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then Germany in World War II, their non-commissioned officers were told, hey, this is what needs to be done. Go find a way to do it. So they were very adaptable in the field because they didn't need to wait for an order from a company commander, a battalion commander. They just went out and so this is how I think it's going to happen. So that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. Canadians pioneered that in World War One, where they were the only group that did that, where local, like platoon leaders and stuff were told what the objective of the battle was. They weren't just told do this. They were told what the overall objective was, which allowed them to, okay, we managed to take our objective. We see the guys over there are struggling. We know that's what they're supposed to be doing. Therefore, we can go support them in a useful way.
Rather than just sit on the backsides and wait for the next order.
Yeah,
so they actually got to use their initiative.
And not know that the other one was in trouble or not, because they had no idea what the other ones were supposed to be doing.
Yeah, that was one of Patton's big things in World War II. He said he would rather tell his men what needs to be done and let them surprise him than tell them how to do something.
Exactly.
And that's where potential leaders on the ground can come to the fore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know when we were doing different simulations, there was times our platoon sergeant, I guess he would have been, he really had kind of an auxiliary position because that billet was already filled, but he was the highest ranking non-commissioned officer in our unit. He would give us orders to do stuff that made absolutely no sense. So there were times we would take the battery out of the radio, and after we were done, say, "Oh, what happened? Oh, negative comm. We couldn't hear what you were saying." So we just did what we thought needed to be done.
Hold on. And the same to you, Manfred.
Gesundheit.
Ganz genau.
Was it the Battle of the Nile when Nelson ignored an order and claimed he hadn't seen it because he intentionally held his telescope up to his missing eye?
I remember reading about that. I don't remember which battle it was, but I remember.
Are you saying he was in denial?
Hey! But I think it was the Battle of the Nile when Nelson. He intentionally ignored. He knew of the order, but he intentionally held and said, "I didn't see it. Didn't see it," because he had this. Yeah.
I hope it is, because that was a good one.
Yeah. But yeah, a great commander can obviously win a battle, but yeah, a great commander will know when to delegate and who to delegate to. So yeah, delegating is important, and having backup plans is important, and knowing who to give that freedom to and who not to, and all that sort of stuff, and having the about having the right allies, having the right people in the right places, and planning and spreadsheets, and making sure everyone's got enough arrows, enough gunpowder, and all that
for want of a nail.
Yeah. So 2 minutes of the stream left. 2 minutes of the stream. We're almost at pumpkin hour. Tell us, those of you who've got your own channels, tell us what you're doing at the moment.
I don't know. I don't pay attention to these things. I've got well, it's 2-year anniversary, so I've got an anniversary video coming. I've got OSE number 30, which will catch OSE up because OSE's been on hiatus, and then I've got a bunch of Night Below recaps in the work. Gotta get on those, and one of these days I'll get back to Theorycraft videos. I keep saying when I can do it, but they're so much more work than the recaps, which basically write themselves. Yeah, that's basically it. And yeah, are we good for Drinking Quest next week? I started the process of I've got to chop up the cards, the PDF of the cards, and then upload them as separate files.
Not this Friday, but next Friday.
Next Friday, yeah.
Excellent. I will. I mean, my one colleague who is left, I've got left at work, has said that she is happy to cover some Saturday mornings if I feel I need a lie-in on a Saturday. She wants the extra money, so I will arrange for her to cover my Saturday morning, because I fully expect to be sleeping in after Drinking Quest. Okay, so if those of you who are still in chat, Drinking Quest a week on Friday.
Yeah, I've
16.
got the PDFs from the creator, so it's easier than scanning because the scanning proved to be a nightmare. So what I started the process of putting the PDFs. I gotta sort of chop them up and make them their own file, each card its own file, to put it into the card dealer and Roll20. But yeah, we can do it this time. I will stay away from the whiskey and just stick with beer.
Well, you might just be running the game, depending on
how I'll run the game. But I mean, well, we can do something like, I'm still there, so if we get a super chat, somebody got a drink, then I'm as susceptible, and whoever's playing Chuglocks has the ability to make somebody else drink, so we can count the DM in that too. But
okay. Quality.
And if we don't get 4 players, then I have to sit in anyway. So
yes, I will. I'll put it out on Discord. I'll invite Saxius and Squirrel Hermit in first because they took part in the last one along with us.
I know Hungar was interested, but
Hungar's interested, but can he
do it? Yeah, I mean that's up to him. We have to figure it out. But yeah, figure it out. See who wants you in.
Because obviously he's got his medical issues. I'd imagine Gingerbeard might be up for it.
He's not.
I think
given up drinking for Lent.
No, he hasn't. I think Daniel will happily drink along on the stream, but I don't think he's got a camera. And I think one of the things we need to have is a camera to see.
Daniel would drink along even if you weren't doing it.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yes. So I'll put it up on there, and I'll get it planned. Start time 9:00, shall we say? The last one was 9 till midnight, wasn't it? I think.
Well, that's 4:00 for me. So yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Right. I shall get that sorted.
And I can simul stream it this year, so I'll put it on my show too.
Absolutely. Let's get a few more people laughing at us. Slan, Iman, who wants to go next to shill your channel?
Well, I uploaded my review of issue 6 of Weird Tales, and I'm about to go live with, well, not live, but about to have one go up, which is one of the short stories from that issue called Riders in the Dark or Riders in the Night. I forgot.
Riders on the Storm.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, no, it's that's not it. Yeah, Riders in the Dark. That's what it is. So hopefully people will enjoy it.
Well, now that I'm doing more time at work, I have more time to catch up on these. Because quiet moments in the shop is when best times for me to catch up on people's streams. So yes, I'm working this weekend. Iman.
Yes, hello. My channel is Intellectual Quandary. I'm working on some videos, but they probably won't be out for a while. But I'm doing a live stream of probably Bloodborne on Sunday, which is very HP Lovecraftian. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, please do check it out. I'd appreciate it.
But it's a Sunday.
Yeah. You just finished playing Last of Us. And
I know.
That
Yes.
was excellent.
Yeah. How did you? Yeah, good man. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's Sunday, though, isn't it? It's Sunday.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I miss a lot of his streams because that's when we do family stuff very often. unfortunately.
14-hour work days Sundays for me now,
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
much permanently.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Yes.
But I can't do it on Saturday because you guys all play OSC and MERP and stuff. So
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah, we have already commandeered Saturdays. But yeah, sadly, I don't get to watch people's streams very often on Sundays because, unfortunately, it's just a constant work day for me now. Halakar,
if you do
still
get a
need to have
chance to
channel.
check it out.
Mhm.
Oh, go on.
I drop in and say hello and give you a like usually. Then I go back to
It's
work.
very Cthulhu-y, especially towards the latter half. So I'm sure you'd enjoy it.
Mhm.
Halakar, you need a channel.
Yeah, I need to get one at some point.
Yeah.
Don't forget to set your clocks ahead this Saturday night though, so you don't end up missing your Sunday games.
Wait, because they don't change their clocks at the same
Same
day.
time,
They're 2 weeks apart or something
Oh, are
like
they?
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do ours on the last Sunday of March.
Yeah.
There's a
John,
couple of
I've
weeks
just remembered.
difference.
Oh, okay. I know there's a
When's
couple
Ca-
areas that don't change theirs because they like to screw with everybody.
Yeah, Saskatchewan.
That's important for our Drinking Quest stream. Then we'll have
Yeah.
to make sure our timing is accurate.
Our clocks won't be moving. So, which direction will your clocks be going?
Ahead.
Forward. So
Forward.
it'll be 3 p.m. for us to start the Drinking Quest stream. You'll be 6
Oh.
hours difference from us until you shift your clocks.
Yeah.
Oh, right,
Oh dear,
okay.
we have to recalculate everything.
And then March 11th,
John,
the Gygax Kickstarter kicks off too.
What? Another Kickstarter.
The Worlds of Gary Gygax or something like that. It's a 7-book set. He's got like one on world building, and I think one book is just names, and also it's just a whole bunch of background information that you can use in your campaign world. And if you pledge within the first 48 hours, they've got some things that he actually signed before he died that your name gets put in a drawing. I think there's 2 or 3 items, so you may get something actually signed by EGG.
Ooh. So when does that start?
The 11th.
11th. So that's 4 days from now.
Yep.
Right. Which is Sunday. Bloody Sundays. Why is everything Sundays? Why? Anyway, Bear, of course, was on earlier. He has just launched a backer kit for his Heroic RPG, which is an evolution of Marvel superheroes with aspects of other games and some of his own stuff in there. He's a big superhero fan, so no doubt it'll be a very lovingly produced game from a man who knows his superheroes. So if you fancy getting involved in some superhero shenanigans, check that out. And his channel, of course. We had Saxius on earlier. Saxius doesn't have a channel. He's on. He's becoming a bit of a live stream whore, though. I haven't seen Omenal for a little while, but I've seen Saxius appearing on other people's streams quite a lot now. He's
and Bear's running a Palladium game on the 16th if anyone's interested. Which me and John are playing in.
Absolutely. The 16th, you say?
I think that's what Bear said. Yeah.
It can't be the 16th. Oh, it is the 16th.
It'll
be the 15th. It'll be the 15th for our Drinking Quest.
Yep.
Yeah,
You'll be nice and hungover for Palladium.
I hadn't noticed it'd be gone past midnight here, so that's yes. I'll be hungover for Palladium. I will indeed. Absolutely. So yes, on the 15th, myself and Iman and Hungar and Cody and Max will all be playing in Bear's Palladium fantasy game, which has been a lot of fun so far. Iman won Player of the Day last time. Malachi as well. Iman won Player of the Day last time.
I did. Thank you again, everybody, for voting me. I appreciate it.
I won it for the first session. But it's good. It's good that everyone's getting votes. Votes are all nicely shared around. Everyone's getting them, so it just shows that I think we're all bringing.
It's a strong group. It's a strong group.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is.
I'm glad you still think that, even though I'm there.
No, well, you won Player of the Day last time.
Yeah.
So-
No, you're doing great. You're doing great.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It's good to get that
As always-
reassurance.
As always, we've got OSE this Saturday morning for you on the wrong side of the Atlantic, afternoon for us on the correct side of the Atlantic. I'll be running my MERP game in the evening, which I'm going to have to get prepared tomorrow night, and I'll be streaming on Friday night, where we will be starting the second in the series of the Lone Wolf books, because we finished the first one at our first attempt.
I missed the end. You guys were already done by the time I got home, so we lived, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, we lived. Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
We will be starting the second one. We've gained a level. We've moved up in the ranks of the Kai Monastery. Well, Kai, what's left of the Kai.
What new skill did we take?
We're taking animal kinship so that Straw Piglet can get his stoats, hopefully.
That's right.
But what about people in the southern hemisphere? Well, no, you're just upside down, aren't you? So everything you do is completely wrong. Just you're completely back to front.
Yeah, I don't even know how your toilets flush.
Book was wrong.
Well, I think we need to start doing things at 8:18. That way, upside down or backwards, they'll be the same. So whichever continent they're on, it'll work.
Yes, yeah, 8:18. Yes, yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, the Australians are upside down, and people in the West Atlantic are just a bit backward because you're behind us in terms of time. You'll always be backward in terms of time. You'll always be behind us. So there.
I think the sun starts with us and rotates to you. You just measure the time incorrectly.
No, we measure it correctly.
I feel like we're the only country that measures time correctly. We're on the meridian line, really.
Yeah,
Says the people who are always incorrect. It's the Dunning-Kruger effect, you know.
Yeah. Well, I know every time I get my telescope out and try and look at that European lunar lander and compare times, I can never find it. So I don't know.
Right, okay. On that note, I'm going to bring this stream to an end. Thank you all for joining us. Sorry it was all a bit last minute getting things sorted tonight. I was all ready to doze off at 8:30. I need to get some sleep tonight. Lack of sleep, large dinners, and too many energy drinks on Monday night while I was playing the game. That was bad. I should not have had 2 cans of Monster while playing a game on Monday night.
You shouldn't have any cans of Monster. That stuff is awful.
Yeah.
I was there till 2 in the morning going. So anyway, yeah, British Lander hasn't left the pub yet, and neither should it. Yeah. Anyway, on that note, cheers, chat. Thank you, everybody.
Have a good night, everybody.
Cheers.
As always, if you've got your own channels, you're welcome to shill them in chat. If you want to give shout outs, whatever, just do it. But it's too late now because pumpkin hour's gone. I'll see you Friday. Night all.
Take care, everyone.